I'm looking forward to the new Alliance race.
New levels, new weapons.
Flying mounts, new professions, new races.
I'm looking for World PvP because I hate hordes, so I kill horde.
Lord the Horde!
Oh my god, I'm just so excited! So excited!
My name is Christian Fernandez, and I come from Mexico just to get Burning Crusade.
My name is Jacob, and I came here to get a piece of the collector's edition of Burning Crusade, and we came from Tijuana, Mexico.
Wendy Breezy here on the eve of a truly historic occasion. Tonight at midnight, millions of die-hard World of Warcraft fans across the globe will be the first to get their hands on the long-awaited expansion.
All right. Welcome back to the Dark Portal, ladies and gentlemen. We are back live once again with a new episode, and today we are going to debrief everything that we learned at BlizzCon about the Burning Crusade. We're excited to be living in a world where we now know that the Burning Crusade is 100% confirmed, that it is coming very soon, looks like. So we're going to talk about just our thoughts on that, and then pretty much discuss the plan moving forward, because now we know how it's going to work, right? We know pretty much all the main pieces towards how they're going to do TBC. Some people, love it or hate it. You know how it's going to work, so we can start putting a plan together and talking about it as a community and all that good stuff. So, anyway, guys, welcome back to the stream. I'm joined today by my lovely co-host, Crix. How you doing, man?
Dude, I'm doing great. I'm happy. I'm a happy man.
It's coming, man. It's coming. And then also we got Abide in the house. He's joined us once again. He helped us out with our Warrior Deep Dive. Just massive wealth of knowledge when it comes to TBC stuff. And I've been playing a lot of Diablo with him. How are you doing, Abide?
I'm doing great, man. It's glad to be here again. Pretty hyped up for all the announcements and stuff.
Hell yeah, man. And last but not least, we got Big Tactics Law, speedrunning extraordinaire, pillar of the hardcore community, carrot taco artisan. How are you doing, Tactics, man? How are you feeling?
I'm doing great. Excited for this show. Talking a little bit about all the news now and the plans going forward.
Hell yeah. Same here. So let's just feel free to participate in the chat as well, guys. We'll try to, if we see anything interesting, we'll pull it out and talk about it or something like that. But let's just open the floor. It looks like BlizzCon's kind of behind us now. We're through all the WoW stuff, I think, at least, right? So just taking a deep breath right now. What do you guys think? Maybe let's start with Tactics. We haven't heard his take. Tactics, how are you feeling about everything?
Oh, that's a hard question. I am happy for a lot of people. I think because of the way that they're doing it. I do think they have made a lot of good changes. But for me specifically, it's not a good way they go about it, because I believe that they move it more towards it being retail-like. And that's just not something I want. And also, I'm a leveler. I love leveling, and they kind of try to take that away in a way.
True.
So that would be my opinion.
Gotcha.
My first initial take.
How about you, Abide? All things considered.
Overall, I think seems pretty good. It seems like Blizzard's at least listening somewhat and taking feedback and kind of changing things. I think there's some things that I'd like to see that we didn't see, or some changes I'd like to have, but hopefully it's not like everything's written in stone so far, and there can be some feedback taken and some changes, applied to some things I think shouldn't be in the place. There's just a lot of different things that are kind of questionable, and just a lot of stuff up in the air as well. I think that wasn't really addressed.
Yep. I sort of, we're all still like, processing what happened. It's still so fresh in our minds. So I guess that's why we're talking about it here today. Hopefully we can get somewhere with it. Crix, the best hype man I've ever met in my life. How are you feeling about everything with TBC, man?
First off, turn the bite down just a little bit.
Okay.
Slightly. And then overall, I like it, right? Pre-nerf is definitely me being a raider, pre-nerf is definitely my favorite thing that they announced, period. We already knew TBC was coming, so that wasn't a shocker. To be honest, the number one thing I'm excited about the most is the rating now. It went from like, I'm not really going to care about rating that much, and I'm going to PvP only to back to like, pre-nerf Ash, pre-nerf KT, pre-nerf everything. Oh, it's huge. I did not expect that. If you would have asked me, people ask me in chat all the time, what's something that you're hoping for? And I'll be like, oh, well, fresh would be dope, obviously, which, bummer, we're not getting it. Pre-nerf would be nice, blah, 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 would be nice. I did not expect, I would have not expected in the world that they would have said pre-nerf.
Gotcha.
Which means they're listening to us a little bit. Well, and that's like the biggest part is that they are listening to us. They're doing research. That Brian dude, the main dev, I've seen him in StaySafe's chat, I've seen him in your chat, I've seen him in other people's chat, really just looking around and listening to what people are saying. That's huge.
I did not know that. You see him in other chats. That's actually pretty cool.
I'm lurking, baby. I'm the pro lurker, man.
Well, my TLDR thoughts on it, and then we'll go into some of this, because I think we should use as a starting point your understanding of what pre and post nerf even means. I don't really even fully understand it, and I think a lot of people in the chat, they hear it and they're like, that sounds kind of good, but we'll talk about what that actually is. For me, I feel you big time tactics on the leveling side of things, but it does give classic WoW still a unique selling point, in the sense that if you're looking for that old school leveling experience, that RPG vibe, that like different wavelength, you can still play classic. And that was the nightmare scenario for me as well, the idea of them not supporting vanilla servers anymore and then just only living in that TBC world. So that is a bit of a recourse there, but overall, when I look back on my history playing this game, it was like a punch in the gut when they put the character boosts in at whatever stage of retail they did. So to see that again was very demoralizing. But at the same point, they're doing a lot of really good stuff too. I think that, like, I did not expect them to go changes and substantial changes, like some changes, like hashtag some changes, and really going for it though, right? Like they put the double pally seals in there. Did anybody think they were really going to go for that? Oh my god, that was shocking to me.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Like, they're putting hands on the game, dude. This is like, imagine if they did this type of shit for classic, man. It'd be insane. Both hands. Yeah.
Well, another thing is, if you notice that they said it, which I love, being a private server guy, is they said that they've paid attention to how the private servers. They literally said they're paid attention to how the private servers did it, and how they gave them both Seal Blood or Seal Vengeance, whatever the fuck it was, right? And that's brilliant.
Yeah.
They're actually paying attention to private servers and seeing what was successful for them, and then copying that. That's mind blowing.
I mean, that's kind of the best way to go about it, though, right? Like that's for a lot of the people that are. There's no other media to intake TBC content, right? Besides the private server at the moment, right? Soon we'll have classic TBC and you can play there. But if you're trying to see what feedback the community has about changes, like that's the only real place you could see is on these private servers, right? So the seal thing isn't really common on a private server. It's only been out on like one, maybe two. Yeah, but it's been very positive thing. And there's been nobody really cares. Oh no, this one guy on Alliance has a seal. It doesn't make a big difference, but it's a very large quality of life change for that person.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I kind of look at it like those Alliance guilds that are like die-hard Alliance. Like, I fucking hate living in mud huts or whatever they say. They're kind of like on the fence about it. I don't think that's gonna tie them over. You have one rep paladin in your raid. Like, that's it. Like, that's not the problem with the faction balance. Is not Seal Blood. It's the fucking orc. I mean, it's the horde racials, right? Obviously.
Yeah, so definitely. It's just a little icing on the cake.
Yeah,
it's not
that's just kind of like, oh, I guess I'll go over, like someone like S-Fan. Him and Paladin loves that shit. That makes sense. But like, other than that, it's really not that big of a deal, man. It's those racials that make it super faction imbalanced.
Yeah, at least on the PvE side, right? PvP is a whole other monster. I think it'll move the needle more on the PvP side than the PvE. So let's work together, chat. Let's do a little exercise here. We're going to need all of our brain power collectively hive-minding together to come up with a list of all that we have learned, like major changes about, or just things, noteworthy things about the TBC Classic. So I'm going to start it with pre-nerf raids. Let's just go for it. Just spitfire, whatever you can think of. I'll make the list.
I think worst case scenario is that the pre-nerf raids are just slight health value changes. Which is still better than not pre-nerf, right? Like it's still an improvement. In the very worst case, it's still an improvement.
Yep. We got drums
I guess
nerf.
drums nerf. Yeah.
Yep. What else? Tag?
They didn't say they said they haven't said what they're gonna do to drums, but they're gonna do something.
Yeah, but we know that it's gonna be nerfed. We can only guess what it's gonna be, but it's probably gonna be not everyone has to. That's what they said at least. Not everyone will have to go leatherworking.
I wouldn't call it less of a nerf because they just want to make it so
a change
it's important to have, but not 25 people need it. That could be a bunch of different.
I assume the way they do it is they make the drums don't require leatherworking to use, but they you require leatherworking to make them. That'd probably be like the most obvious change.
Yep. I like that.
They add a cooldown. That's also
that's a way too, but I think that kind of kills them and kind of ruins like the profession thing.
The appeal to them.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna kill drums. They're gonna make it so.
Yeah, I think
guilds, like our guilds, by Biden minds, we're gonna be still doing drums and TBC. They're gonna make it.
Yeah, it won't be a requirement. I mean, I don't know. Like, I think making them not require leatherworking to use is like the best change because then you kind of free people up. You still have the drums there, and you still have the whole theme of like I think it's kind of fun personally to kind of have like a drum rotation, and you guys are kind of trying to keep that going. It's like a little mini game type of thing. It's just something else there for it, right? I still kind of like that. I don't think it's worth just like deleting them. But I think the main issue that people don't like is they don't like that you lose a profession slot right away, right? Like people want to do what they want to do. So I think the main issue is that it locks one of your profession slots. It's not the drums themselves. So I think it's better if they do something with like removing leatherworking requirement to use them rather than to, just make them.
For sure. So we got pre-nerf raids, drums nerf, but we don't, or changed, right? But we don't know what they're gonna do yet. Pally racials. So just to really make it clear, both Pally racial Seal of Blood and Seal of Vengeance will be accessible for both factions. That's happening as well. What else? 243. That they committed that. Crix, that's the one you were dying to know about, right? Like itemization wise.
Yeah.
They've hard committed 243 final state of things.
I needed that.
Yeah.
They said something with attunements. They said they're probably going to be doing attunements in the game, but they're going to be removing them per patch, something like that.
Yeah. So like they're gonna make it so everybody needs to get their characters on attunement, right? And sometime I don't know when, but I would say safely like Black Temple maybe. So 2.1, they'll make it so as long as one person in your raid has the key, you guys can get in. They didn't finalize that. That was just their idea.
Yeah, it's going to be like you don't need the key. So like the way it is from the start is you have to have the key in your bag, which means you have to do the whole attunement chain to enter the raid. You can't enter the raid without it in your bags. But the way it is later is going to be you just need one person with the key to open the gate. And it doesn't even have to be someone in your group. Someone has to be there to open the gate.
Okay.
So I think the way they're going to do that is, probably every future tier, like when tier 5 comes out, maybe remove the tier 4 attunements, tier 6, remove the tier 5, which I think is a very nice, it's like another quality of life thing you see on private servers.
Because usually they remove attunements when like ZA and they remove them all, or Sunwell.
It's Sunwell, yeah, for most of them. I don't know, I think attunements are pretty bad, so I think it's a very nice change as well.
Also, they revealed the phasing, right? The phasing in general, just on a broader note, is I think something that I didn't really see any friction on it. People are just happy. They're like, wow, Blizzard, they listened, they did a good thing. Like, the phasing is Kara, Mag, and Gruul on launch, and that's it. Which will...
With Season 1.
Which is really the most... with Season 1 on launch as well. Which is the most
they changed that as well.
Changes.
Yep. So they clarified it. I think there was some confusion with the arena seasons, but they clarified it, yeah. And they confirmed it, like Phase 1 was Season 2.
Phase
1 was Season 1, sorry.
Yeah, Phase 1, Season 1. Okay. Yeah, so the phasing. Could you tell us about how the phases are broken down, Crix? And the implications
Phase 1 is T4 raids, which would be like Karazhan, Gruul to Max, and it's Season 1 for Arena. Phase 2 will be Phase 2 is T5, SSC, TK with Season 2. Phase 3 was the Black Temple with Season 3. Phase 4 is ZA with no new arena season. The ZA is kind of like ZG and Classic, And then Phase 5 would be like 6.5, which is Sunwell, and then Season 4. Which I like it. That's fair. All of that is fair. The way they had it before, I think they had it where it was like Black Temple was open when Season 2 was there, so you could use like Skull, Gridana, and shit like that, and Season 2 PvP, which would be fucking broken.
Just really devalues the PvP gear, so it was really off-putting.
Yeah, people were. I'm gonna step out on a limb here and say that the PvP community in TBC Classic is going to be massive. I would borderline say more than the PvE, maybe. I'm not sure. Maybe not because of this pre-nerf stuff, but my chat last night was full of people like, yo, well, season 3 and I mean, season 2, all that shit, they were tripping on that. So I'm glad that they confirmed it and cleared the air on that one.
Yep.
Didn't they change this as well? I heard at first it was in phase 2, but then they changed it back to phase 1 or something.
Yeah, they fixed it. I think maybe they just like messed up saying it because you had one site saying one thing and one saying the other, and I think they just realized that and then fixed it and put it in and confirmed it.
Yeah. Like Wowhead was saying
like a
season
maybe
1 and 1, so I don't know which one it was, but they clarified today. It could also be that they saw how much negative feedback there was and changed it right away. You know, or I think it's most likely they just misspoke and they clarified a mistake.
Someone said, I don't know how. We don't know. That's another topic. I don't know how we can see, like, because I can't imagine T4 even pre-nerf being drastically hard to where we have a 5-6 month window before we have phase 2. But they did that with Classic, didn't they? They had we had a whole few months of nothing really to do before there was even World PvP, right? Or
True.
Something like
and that was with less content, right? I mean, Molten Core is less content than Kara, Gruul, Mag, and Season 1 PvP. There's a lot of content in that phase 1.
T4 is getting clapped out fast.
Battlegrounds as well, right?
Yeah, even pre-nerf, T4 won't be hard.
Yeah, no.
Mags will be a little bit because some of the pre-nerf mechanics that changes where Mag Therodon is a big cube. It's a shitty. I mean, it's an easy fight, but it's a shitty fight because there's 4 clickers. And I know as they kept nerfing it, it went down to 2 clickers and then 1 clicker. Right? That's huge because the whole fight is clicking and making sure you guys are clicking at the same time. Right? So I'm very excited to see that. I'm glad they didn't change that. The pre-nerf is huge, but even pre-nerf, I don't think the pre-nerf difficulty that people are really going to struggle with is not going to be until SSC and TK. Well, I think T4 is still going to be pretty easy.
Let me talk about Phase 1, Tier 4 for a second here. I mean, this may seem dumb and obvious, I don't know, but having Arena Season come out literally on launch, I guess they could do it that way, but I mean, wouldn't it be better just... Wouldn't they just...
Why? My guess is they're not going to actually...
Like, just a month
It's very unlikely that they do that. As far as I've heard, other people talk about, they're going to wait a few weeks, most likely. It's not like... Day 1, it'll be out. It might be 2, maybe 4 weeks, and then it's gonna be out.
It'd be a little weird, right?
That makes sense because to be honest, like you don't need. I mean, first week of launch, you're still getting your gear to be able to step into arena anyway, right? So all you're really doing that first week is getting some tins cap in, and then the diehard people like Genghis I see in chat spanking the boys. You know, they'll be going in there butt naked probably and clapping everybody, but us, plebs, no, they're not that. So I could see them posting it like 2 weeks. But at the same time, a lot of these PvPers don't care about PvE. They won't step foot in raids. All they care about is the arena content. So making them wait a month is kind of unfair to them at the same time. Season 1 in the original BC was 2 weeks after launch.
That's how private servers all were, and that's how it was back in the day as well. I'm pretty sure like there's never been a DBC server where Arena server is literally day 0. Arena server is already live. Even with Endless, they kind of announce it, right? They're like, "Yo, Season 1 is coming. Like, get ready, on your mark, get set." Have you guys played on one where there's an arena season literally on launch?
Kerosene, I think
it's only like that if there's like boost like instant 70 or something like that. I think like almost every expansion, every arena season, there's never on retail as well. It's never been right on the launch, right? It's always delayed.
Yeah,
I think it's
the one in the original BC was 2 weeks after launch, so they could probably I could see them copying that. That's fine. 2 weeks.
I think like Tactics said, like 2 to 4 weeks is ideal, and then it also kind of gaps out like the content spikes where what you're if everything's at launch, you're kind of overloaded at the launch, and then you do everything, and you're kind of just like maybe you should just raid logging after that. But if they kind of split it up a little bit, you do everything at the first couple of weeks, and then like a couple weeks after that, there's no arena season, and then you're farming honor and all that, and then maybe a couple weeks after that, something new comes out, stuff like that. It kind of gaps the content a little bit better.
Yeah, I'd be on board with that. So other implications of like Phase 1 and PvP and stuff. I mean, I just guessed this. I don't know if you guys had the same feeling. The whole suite of blue PvP gear, like the offset pieces that you pick up in the BGs, as well as the ones with a bit of resilience on them from getting honored with the various reputations. Do you feel that they will be there? Like, they haven't 100% Omega confirmed it, but like, do you think that they're going to be there on launch?
No. I will bet anything in the world that because you know how they said it's hashtag some changes.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be one of those because that right there, that's the focal point of PvP. That first 2 weeks, so they're not going to release Season 1, right? That's what you're doing is you're grinding BGs for your full fight, your head, shoulders, chest, gloves, pants, blue set, right? Because it costs the same amount of honor as marks as if you're buying your op pieces. So you got to farm that up and farm the off pieces, and it's not bad. It's the only because once you guys get that out of the way, even as PvPers, once you guys get that out of the way, you won't step foot into a BG for like ever.
Wait,
until
but
next
you
season.
can't buy chests and all those things for BG, can you? I thought it's just off pieces.
Yeah. There's blue pieces.
The blue set you're
Season
talking
0
about
here.
from Honor. So what you're talking about is a blue set that you can get from Honor from 2.3 or whatever, or 2.1.
No. I'm talking about the blue set you get from the factions like Honor Hold.
Yeah. So before that's out, that's not out at launch. Usually it's not out at launch. Before that, you had to get that same 5-piece set from Honor and Marks. So
Okay.
the res set, the resilience set, it's the exact same thing. They're called like, Warlock is a Dreadweed versus the High Warlord Dreadweed, whatever. Same exact stats, same resilience. It's just, hey guys, this is a good catch-up mechanic for you guys to do this. You know what I mean? And then they released it. Highly doubt they do that.
I see. Are you on the same page, Abide? Do you think that it's going to be all BG gear? So season 1 gear, you get the entire set from. Well, I guess you end up using PvE gear more because like some of the PvE gear is way stronger relatively. But do you think it's going to be BG gear only on launch?
I think if they do a season instantly on launch, they would probably have the rep gear in, but I think it's a bad idea. I think it kind of devalues the BG grind, kind of devalues the gear overall. I think it's just not great. I think it'd be better if it's again maybe a 4-week delay on season start from the launch, 3-4 weeks after that season starts, and in that time you're farming up your blue gear in the PvP.
Tyrannic Gaming asked if I already have that like High Warlord set, and if you have the High Warlord set in Classic, it's garbage in TBC. Every bit of it is trash. Dispose of it. You'll never use it. It's called High Warlord in Classic, and the new set is also called High Warlord in TBC, but it's a different set. There's no resilience on it. There's no, you don't get the gems on it. You don't get shit.
Okay, I have a question for you guys. This is something I don't know. So I didn't play back then, but between the pre-patch, pre-patch of TBC and TBC, I believe they add the honor system, right?
Yeah, in the pre-patch.
Yeah. So can you farm honor at level 60 and then get that blue gear if it's out for level 70?
No, you're not gonna be able to do honor like that. No one, you're not gonna be able to cheese anything like that.
No, I think you should. I think you can.
You couldn't.
If you get honor right now, are they gonna wipe it? You think he's saying you can do it right now in Classic? Get completely all the
honor capped.
The honor capped, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Because when you have Blood Elf and Draenor out, it could be a possibility that you could do this if they.
Well, you need to stack badges as well. It's marks. It's a shit ton of honor and then marks, right? Which are marks.
I mean, you won't be able to stack up enough to get the whole set, but unless I think that's more like a thing they're gonna do. I'm not sure how that works from Classic to TBC, but it'll probably be something they have to decide. But I would assume there's something you can do.
Badges, right? Like the marks from the BGs, like that.
Don't they? They only last 24 hours, though, right? Yeah, I mean, you can definitely stack them up in your bags, and that's the play for sure, right? But in your mailbox, I think they only last 24 hours, so you can't stack too many up.
Oh, right? yeah. But I'm saying you could have as many in your inventory than in your mailbox.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, okay.
You can at least do that with the marks for sure. I don't know about the honor. I would assume there was an honor wipe when they made the new honor system, but you never know.
Gotcha. Arlays, thank you very much for the host, my friend. That's a massive host. Thank you for dropping your community off over here. We'll take good care of them. We're talking about the future and how to plan for TBC, guys. We now know what the runway looks like. Now it's time to make preparations and land the gunship. So we're talking about it. We're talking about it today. Thanks for joining us. Okay. So any other implications of Phase 1? Tier 4. Can you just think of anything, or? I mean, people. The big one of the elephants in the room is honored versus revered with the dungeons. They didn't talk about it at all at any point during BlizzCon.
No, and they also didn't talk about.
I think they did. I think they mentioned
either.
The keys would be revered.
Oh, they did.
I could have sworn I remember hearing that, but maybe
revered. It's gonna be revered. They're not gonna do it. No, that's too easy. They're not gonna do that. I have faith in them now. When I told you guys a couple months ago I have faith in Blizzard, I was right. I'm gonna keep going saying I have faith in them. They're listening to us. Yes,
yeah, I think it's a big thing.
They have to satiate everybody, right? So it's not going to be like me and Abide want something different than Kargoz and Tactics want. So they're helping both of us out, right? Not going to be perfect for everybody, but they're actually listening to us.
I'm not sure they fully listen, because if they listen, they would probably have already done Fresh. Because everyone has been talking about Fresh. I don't know if you're following Classic where I was subreddit, everyone wanted it there. It's been uploaded so many times, thousands of uploads, even after BlizzCon now as well. a lot of people really wanted fresh, and they didn't listen.
Because they'll lose more stuff.
You mean
They will
fresh
lose more
classic or
stuff.
fresh
fresh
TBC?
TBC.
Fresh TBC,
Fresh TBC.
making
Yeah.
just 2 servers or something. Like then people would shut up, but they didn't.
Oh
choose
yeah,
to do that.
But maybe that's just them being lazy, or they don't want to do it. Man.
I mean, more so when I say I think they're listening, I mean they're more so gathering like information and data from these private servers and kind of applying that a bit. I think that's what I mean more so. I don't think they're like directly like in here and seeing what people are doing on different communities and stuff. I think they're definitely taking a page from some of these private servers and kind of being influenced by that a bit. But they're not fully listening, but maybe they're open to it, and that's what I gotta hope for, The
thing that's very like
change anything.
strange to me, chat, and like we pretty much asked enough people now to confirm that this is true, is that the question was never even brought up to them during BlizzCon, and they didn't just address it independently, right? So like we're still sort of unknown with how Blizzard feels towards specifically TBC Fresh. They talked about Classic twice, Classic Fresh.
True.
They basically, TLDR said, after the dust settles with TBC, we're like open to the idea of running like a Classic Vanilla Fresh. But TBC Fresh never entered the conversation, which is really kind of like,
Actually,
shocking.
it did. I thought it didn't either, but like they didn't ask the question about Classic Fresh, but he still answered it in a little bit. So he said, if there's not enough space, we will consider making extra servers.
Yes, but I don't think that means that they're going to go fresh.
I think that means the Classic
They're going to transfer their
servers.
character over.
No. This was. You think so? There's no way they're gonna make extra Classic era servers, right?
Yes, they're talking about that.
Well,
There's all the talks about
them.
Fresh was
They're
about
dead.
Vanilla.
You're talking about the Mr.
understood-
GM one or the actual
Mr.
BlizzCon one?
Mr. GM one.
They're
Yeah,
talking
from what I
about
Like that it was TBC first they were talking about.
Nah, it was
Okay.
Classic on that one for sure.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, the question was Classic, but at the end he added that thing about extra servers, and I don't think they would ever consider extra servers for Classic era.
They were there.
Like,
They don't.
That's what
They
we're
won't
talking
need
about.
them. Those servers are going to die out.
yeah,
They're going to need merged.
that's my
Yeah,
point.
maybe.
But in that
So
conversation,
because he was talking about them being
vanilla
full,
ones.
and they might need to make extra ones. So that must be TBC that he was answering that to, right?
No, it's Classic related. I don't know. But if it is
Maybe.
PvP related, if you think about it, even if just because it's a new server doesn't mean it's a fresh server. It could be a new server and then let you transfer over the server. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
So I guess
Well-
just to like not only complain and have a solution here, I don't know if you're on the same page with this tactics, but if Blizzard basically said there's a few months out before TBC Classic, well, yeah, there's a pretty vocal minority out here. They're being pretty annoying. They're talking about fresh and they're talking about no boost. Like if they made a couple fresh servers with no boost enabled on them, would Classic be like amazing to you, tactics? I mean, or TBC?
Yeah, that's how I would want it, and I think a lot of people are in that boat. Also, I guess you kinda already by making the boost, half the people that are satisfied, but the other half is not, because the people that wanted to join the game, some of them are satisfied because they will just go in that way then. But the other half that wanted a fresh experience, like on private server, or like there's so many people that love that are not satisfied now.
I think that boiled down.
also-
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I just want to go back to something that that Kargoz said earlier about that now you can do it in Classic. I would agree if there was no boosting in Classic, but I don't think you can say that like boosting because of boosting in dungeons. Classic is not about leveling anymore, which kind of ruins it for me a little bit with the Classic leveling. If they removed that it wasn't just everything about boosting, then you could say, okay, that's a unique selling point in Classic, the leveling experience.
Well,
Well,
the
it's a
same time,
unique
everybody's
selling point.
complaining about the boosting, but that's what people are doing in Classic, because you're paying for a boost. You're just AFKing to get power leveled in, SM or ZF or whatever the fuck it's marred on.
To get a
You're
boost
doing
in
the same
vanilla,
thing.
though, you have to pay somebody. You have to have connections. You have to know how that works, right? You have to like know how to hit up a mage and what the progression is, and you still have to kind of like sit in dungeons for a long while, like as opposed to the
True.
TBC. You literally just print the character out with gear, amount, and everything.
Good point.
But yeah. Anyway, I'm on the same page with that though. Pretty much, if they made 1 or 2 fresh realms with no boost enabled, they would be perfect. Like it would just be.
It'd be beautiful.
it'd be
I think it like would actually just squash any other problems. Like I would almost be, I can't even think of anything else I would have an issue with. Like that's how much it just kind of solves everything in one sweep, right? It gets rid of the boosting thing. It gets rid of the character transfers, the gold issues. Like gold issues will be a problem still in the future, obviously. But if you're all starting at a fresh place, like economy-wise, then it kind of you're part of the problem. You're part of the economy from the get-go. Versus like I go to a TBC server where X player transferred 5 characters and has 1 million gold. Like, it's over for me. Like, I have 0 gold.
Yeah, it's kind of true. Oxyorum, thanks for that nice comment, though, in the chat. He's saying, I'd honestly like Blizzard to do either A, release poll results showing lack of interest in Fresh, or B, poll specifically for interest in TBC Fresh and publish the results. That'd be a great look, right? Because if Blizzard's stance is like, guys, there's just not that many people interested in Fresh. Look, here's the data. We polled the community. We put those polls out. Here's the results. What do you want us to do? We're not going to cater to a few people. But I think a lot of people do want Fresh, though. But
I think it's important that now that it's been announced, they do something like that, right? Instead of back in the day where they put these polls out to people that are currently subscribed and playing Classic WoW, of course those people want to transfer their Classic characters to a Fresh instead of starting all over again, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay. I have something interesting to say about that, because I don't think they will ever do that, because I think the poll shows, this is I don't know if it's a hot take, but I don't really think that's going to show that, because every single YouTube poll that we saw, no one wanted boosted. Like, they asked about 58 if you should start at 58, and it had like 1-2% votes. But they ended up doing this. So I think the Fresh is still high, and people didn't want boosting, but they still decided to do it. They just decided to do it anyway.
Oh, that's so funny you mentioned that tactics. I remember when everybody was being React Andy, when those polls came out. You remember all the streamers were being React Andys, right, guys? Everybody was just brought it up in the stream talking about it. Like, everyone skipped over the 58 boost. Like, that was kind of, we thought that was kind of a joke. Like, oh, that'll never happen. They just threw that in there for like the lulz, and they actually went with it.
They did.
Well,
You're
I
right.
think the thing with that is, like, maybe you guys considered it. When I thought of that, I didn't think of it as a paid boost. I kind of, because I've just played private server so long. And all these private servers just kind of like, if it's going to be a 58 boost, it's going to be, the server starts at 58, right? But the thing with that tactics, I think, is like, the boosting makes them money, right? So I think that's kind of why, right? And at the end of the day, it's a company trying to make money, and they can't really sell like mounts and battle pets and stuff like that like they do in retail. So this is some sort of option. There's no, like, I don't think there's faction change, race change, stuff like that. So this is kind of a way for them to make some additional money, which is, it's not the best, but, obviously they're going to do something. But the thing with, like, Fresh servers is, there's obviously a cost to, run it and maintain it. But at the same time, you're also, if you're making money because you're attracting more of the people that wouldn't play, it is like a business decision, right? So I'm still, like, kind of hopeful that they do think of something of that, because there is some sort of monetary gain to it. Yeah. It's not just, what does the community think? We want your opinion. There's actually, like, a monetary goal at the end of it.
And here's the thing. They can have their cake and eat it too, right? Like, we're not just complaining for no reason. If they just whipped up 1-2, even if it was just 1, just out of solidarity for those people, just like, okay, fine. Fuck it. Here's 1 server. Can you shut up now? Like, yeah, we'd shut up, bro. I'd shut up. Even if I didn't play on that server, I'd be like, oh, okay, all right, nice.
Hack server, I would be so down though.
Even if you were that person that is against Fresh, right? If you would, don't you want one Fresh to be out, so you don't have those people on your servers complaining all the time? And the community actually will, like, not even trolling, the community will actually be toxic. There's going to be people there's going to be people calling people like, oh, you're a T3 booster or something. Like, there's going to be some weird, like, little nickname, and it's going to be a little flame circle, and everyone's going to be trash talking each other. I'm a Fresh player. I play hard. I'm hardcore Fresh. I'm full Fresh. You're a 2 million gold Andy, stuff like that. There's going to be a whole, like, thing. It's not going to be healthy, right? So if you are the person that doesn't want Fresh, then, it's almost beneficial for you to get those people off your servers and, satisfy that portion even as well. Like, it's almost like no downside, right?
And
except for the cost of running it.
Just to tie it all together, too, they'd still be able to charge for their boosts. That whole monetization model would still be intact. They'd just be whipping up 1-2 servers in their mind, or however many it would take to like, provide a huge different stroke for, I think, a pretty good amount of folks. But anyway,
very good. I think it's a good amount of people that wanted it, but not as much as people that wanted to carry over, because there's a lot of people with rank 14s and a lot of scarabs and a lot of this and that and this and that they want to bring in the TBC. They would lose a lot of subs. They're losing way more subs if they were to do a pure Fresh than if it was to be a carryover.
Yeah. Agreed. Well, at least we all got it out there, right? Now it's like, for the record, we got it out there. Like, we know what they're going to do, though. They're probably not going to do that, right? Now we have a pretty good idea of how this is going to happen. Let's plan for TBC. Oh, you want to say something?
Okay, so I'm wondering something else. I haven't heard anyone brought this up yet. Maybe you guys have, or you have heard it somewhere. But how do you feel that boosting is going to impact the PvP scene for Horde side, because we're going to have more undeads and orcs now? Do you think it's going to have a big impact or a small impact? Because now when you can get instant 58, you might have a few people that's just going to be like, yo, I don't have an undead. I'm just gonna go rogue undead now.
Well,
Yeah,
it makes it
which
easier
is
for
the main
me
reason
to
that's the reason I don't care about the boost is because the PvPers who haven't played Classic, if we're looking at Azzy and all the big boys, they don't have to level. Let them boost.
They're stoked, man.
Oh, well.
They're stoked, Ricks. Remember, I was talking to Gucci the other day, and he was like, "Oh my god, I have to level,
who cares,
bro." He was like,
bad part. The only bad part about boosting is the bots, because now all these bot accounts can get a free fucking 58. That's the only bad side. There's no bad side of letting people boost up to 58. Who cares?
Don't you
We'd
think
be here
it
all
will
day if we
also
talked about all
ruin
of
the
it, yeah.
action balance now even more? People know Horde is better PvP. If you want to be a lot of people, they're just, even if they're Alliance in Classic, they might be like, yo, I can just get the 58 for free now.
Yeah, or they can
Horde
just,
side.
even if not though, remember it's patch, so in 2.3, patch 2.3, they made it like 30% faster to level 1 to 60. So that
It's still not
like
that
40
fast.
hours played.
"Yeah, it's still."
No, it's like 40 hours
It's not
played.
40 hours played.
It's
Like
60.
it's
1 to 60 is.
it's no, it's not.
Nah, it's,
Like,
it's still like a week or something.
no,
1 to
like,
60 a week?
For me, it's
Like
gonna
1 to
be
70.
60 hours. For me, it's gonna be 60 hours. For an average player, it's gonna be 5 days played.
Yeah. Well, Tactics would know this is like his complete, wheelhouse.
1 to 60, you said tactics, or for up to 70?
Yeah, it's gonna be like 2.5 days for me, ish.
Yeah,
And
I think like a week
1
to
60, of
70,
course.
right? Like,
Well, here's the thing. Like,
Yeah,
a lot of
yeah,
people are just gonna
a week.
use the boost to like roll the meta race, right? That's one thing. But we've seen what happens there. Tactics. We've fought our fair share of undead rogues already and stuff. Like, we've been playing on the endless tournament server where everybody's friggin' undead. So it still probably won't be that bad. Like it'll be some people who will switch over. And for me, right, I'm leveling a warlock in Classic right now, and I was trying to get him up to 60 before TBC. Now I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna boost him, man. Yeah, we're chilling, man. We're gonna.
Yeah, I don't got a level of Priest anymore.
doesn't that whole thing kind of tie back into Classic, like fresh servers though? Like if people are going to re-roll for that stuff, like why wouldn't they want fresh as well, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. I don't know. I mean, I think I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily, but I don't think the population will be like insane. I don't think it's gonna. Right now, I think it's Alliance favored, like 53-47. I don't think it's gonna swing crazy like 30-70 or anything, but you probably have a bit of a shift for sure.
I think that people keep asking about it, so I'm going to say it. With the 2.43 patch, that means world buffs can't be used after level 63.
There it is. There.
The world
it
buffs
is.
are no longer in the game past 63. Get them, log out with them, so you can power level to 63. Other than that,
Okay.
useless.
Let's talk about pre-nerf raids, okay? How many people in the chat, be honest, you don't really understand what the difference between the pre-nerf and post-raid in terms of like how substantial it is, why are people freaking out? I would kind of put myself in that boat, right? Because like my opinion on it, like, or my like perception on it is that our shit is already way harder on private servers anyway, and people are just destroying it anyway. Like, so like this is not going to be that hard as it is on the private servers, like 2.5x or whatever. So like it's still going to fall over anyway, but I don't think that's the whole story. I don't think I understand the nuance, the pre-nerf, post-nerf. Like maybe you guys could clarify a bit.
To be fair, private servers, we're not pile driving the content. It's prog. It's rough. I mean, Goodbye's guild, yeah, he's in the number one guild in the world. But other than that, like, I'm in a decent guild. We're still progging fucking Sunwell. It took a while to get past Black Temple. We're not pile driving it. But pre-nerf, I think pre-nerf T4 won't even be that hard. I think the pre-nerfs really won't start kicking your ass until like T5. That being said, it's not going to be a struggle. I can expect it to be a little bit harder than the max difficulty in Classic right now. You know how that kind of stumbled some people? I feel like it's going to be like that.
That's a good point, because if you saw the interview as well, they said the raids in TBC, difficulty-wise, were kind of ramping up from Naxxramas, right? Like Naxxramas was the start, and the raids ramped up from there. So they kind of followed that timeline. So it should be kind of like that. Like it's going to be easier, or it's going to be harder than Classic for sure. Like in Classic, you just go in there and you just zug the boss in 10 seconds, right? Like it's not going to be like that. The bosses are going to be at least a couple minutes. T4 probably not. It'd be just rolling things over real quick, especially in the 10-mans. But it'll still be harder than Classic. Some things like Tier 4 is very easy. Maybe Mag Therodens will be a little bit difficult, but it's not going to be anything that you got to be a Mythic Raider 500 attempts to kill. But you're going to wipe a few times. You're going to have to adjust a few things.
Okay, I'm not a raider, so I wonder, is it actually harder than Classic, like Tier 4, if you don't consider will buffs? Because isn't it just will buffs that makes it easier in Classic? Or maybe I'm wrong, but I know there's some mechanics are also going to be harder in TBC, right?
Yeah, I think the thing is the mechanics, right? Like, I think most Mag or MC bosses only are like one mechanic mostly, right? Like, there's some that have a few extra. But yeah, like the world buffs do kind of trivialize things, so it kind of makes it difficult to give like a proper difficulty evaluation, right? But
you skip mechanics often.
Yeah, exactly. You just bypass them because you just nuke everything so fast, or you have so much health, or whatever, right? Like, but I think Tier 4 is kind of a bad way to compare it because Tier 4 it's really entry rate. Like Karazhan was on release, it was at least made easier than Heroics. Like the Heroic 5-man dungeons were harder than Karazhan on release. So Karazhan's not really that hard. It's a 10-man type of entry raid thing. Gruul's is very easy. Mag's maybe a little bit of coordination issues. That's kind of about it. It's not like crazy difficult. Like. But I think it'll be a little bit harder overall, just because there's more mechanics that you have to do. It's not just you can't, like you said, you can't just bypass all the mechanics, right?
Conceptually, to understand this pre versus post nerf stuff, though, this is not this doesn't affect every single boss in the entire game, right? This is like specific bosses that were considered too hard back in the day that they tweaked to make easier. Is that I just want to? I'm trying to know. Even just for lore purposes, like which bosses are these, if that is the case, or is it all bosses across the board they turn down a bit?
The last bosses are pretty much always going to be the hardest, as you can imagine. Vash sucked pre-nerf, right? Oh, my sound's all weird. Can you hear me?
Yeah, so you got really quiet.
I turned you up, though, but I'll try to bring you back down if you can fix it.
Yeah, Vash pre-nerf is really hard. There's some things, like if you look at, there's some things that it'll be fun. I think it's going to be kind of fun to do it. I don't think people are going to pile drive it like they think they're going to. I think it's going to be relatively, it's not going to be a pushover. You're not going to prog a boss for a week or nothing like that. I think it justifies, I don't hate to piss you guys off. I think it justifies drums. I know that. Pre-nerf makes it so if you weren't thinking about drums, get them. Unless they obviously, they're going to change them, but.
What you're saying, Kargoz, is, I don't know, it's kind of up to them to what they want to do, right? They mentioned Muru and Bosch as, like, the definite ones. I assume they're going to do all bosses. I don't see why they would just do a couple only. But they haven't released anything on that, so we don't know for sure. Like, that's another great question that should have been asked, in my opinion, right?
I just remember the dragon in Kara right before the last boss was, like, a really tough boss. I think they nerfed at some point. Like, so maybe that guy's harder. Yeah. So maybe he's harder and then Kara's harder. Yeah, probably, right?
Some of the bosses in there are optional side bosses, and they are like tier 5 level bosses. Yeah, so like some of them are pretty hard. But yeah, like if stuff like that's in place, that's ideal, right? Like every boss is like in a pre-nerf state. But then it comes down to like what do they define as pre-nerf? Is it just going to be the health values? Is it going to be the health values and the mechanics? It's a lot of different things that are up in the air that didn't really get addressed. But hopefully it's all the bosses and it's mechanics and health, and then the raids are actually going to be like. Not again, like you're not going to progress a boss for a week and not kill it, but you'll wipe a few times. You'll spend an hour or 2 hours on some of the harder bosses.
Yep, you're not going to one-shot every boss like you did BWL.
What do you think they're going to do, though, guys? Do you think they're just going to turn the health up a bit? What did they do on private servers? Because that's what it seems like they did there. It's not like they added new mechanics or made certain mechanics hit harder. They kind of just cranked the mob level up of the boss, so it kind of just scaled everything up, I think. I don't know what they're going to do in Classic. Maybe it would be kind of cool if they increased the frequency of mechanics. Would that be a better way to do it? How would you, as seasoned raiders, I am not one for sure, and I don't know if Tactics isn't Mitch on the raiding side too, what would you ideally want to see from Blizzard in terms of making these encounters more exciting and more difficult in like a meaningful way?
Speaking on the two main private servers right now is Karazhan and then Endless. They both overtune their servers in different ways. Endless was more like heavy boss damage, right? And then Karazhan took a different route and went more heavy mechanics. They relied on the mechanics to kind of fuck you up a little bit. And I like that. I like the mechanics more because on Endless it's kind of like something stupid can happen. You guys can play perfectly and RNG screws you over, right? But that can happen pretty much a lot anyways. But Karazhan has it to where the boss mechanics hit harder. They do more damage, or like you said, they more frequently. That'd be super dope if they do that. I don't see Blizzard changing the boss mechanics though. Like I can see them maybe tuning would be nice, but I can't see them like.
Ask me a week ago, I would agree with you. They just gave pally seals to both factions.
That's
I'm
true.
just like the cat's out of the fucking bag, bro. They're actually going for some changes, bro. They're like that's a bold thing to do. They're just like fuck it, dude. Pally seals.
I actually disagree. I don't think it's bold at all. Really? I think the whole community wanted that to change, and they knew there's no backslash from changing the Paladin thing. It would be different if they changed it so Alliance is more equal to Horde in PvP or something, because Horde is so far ahead. But they just did the safest one, but still a change for balance, which is the Paladin seals.
I
don't think it's a big change for me, at least.
it's not that big of a change because you only have one rep out in your raid, so it's not big of a deal. But there's nothing really they could do to balance out. You can't. The PvP ratios on Alliance are fucking great. They're not like drastically behind Horde. It's the PvE ratios for fucking Alliance that is ass. You know what I mean?
For sure.
PvP is fine for Stoneform is broken. You know, that's really good. You got Perception is what almost all like the PvP ratios are fine for Alliance. That's all PvE stuff. But what can you do to really negate that out? Like, what can you do to
still they're affecting classes? Like, once you cross the line into class, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying a part of me, guys, is really excited to a certain extent because when you have a static game that never changes ever, in many people's mind, that's a dead game. And like, if you just kill the robot over and over again every week, a lot of people will look down at that and be like, oh man, like, you know, imagine spending your time doing that, doing the exact same pixel by pixel encounter every week. The fact that this game has a little bit of a pulse and that they're making some small tweaks, it's exciting. It's almost like TBC is alive, you know, like they're literally working on it in progress, if that resonates with anybody. I mean, even just with these few changes here. So maybe they could tweak some things with the bosses in a more meaningful way. What are you going to say, bud?
I mean, so like it's pretty common. I think I don't know what Karazhan because I haven't read there, but Endless has like a lot of tweaks on mechanics. You know, maybe a boss does an ability 2 seconds more often, or does a lot more damage, or you know, stuff like that. I think most of the private servers try and keep the mechanics in the core with the TBC, right? And that's one thing I think you don't want to lose the identity of the expansion, right? You don't want to, you know, oh, this boss suddenly has 3 new abilities, like. You might as well just design a new boss at that point, you know, if you're kind of losing the identity of the boss in the raid. So I don't think there's going to be really any changes in that regard, but you know, I think there are some bosses where abilities did get nerfed, and you know, maybe this ability does less damage, or it does he uses it less often, less frequently, and maybe we'll see that get reverted with these pre-nerf changes. Stuff like that's very nice. I don't like this. Let's just buff the damage up. I hope it is like a combination of reverting, you know, damage the boss does, ability usage, what abilities do, you know, debuffs, buffs, mechanics, all that stuff. I hope it's like a full pre-nerf, and I hope it goes to like the hardest level.
That could be genuinely exciting for people like you, Abide, who have done it a million times, because then you could be looking at more unique fights. Like the one example they use, that maybe you guys can fill me in with the boss. I couldn't tell you the boss. Like they were talking about pre-nerf. I think it was in TK, and they said there was this issue that it was causing way too much spell pushback, this boss, like one mechanic, right? And now they're like reverting it. So like, you know, it's going to be pre-nerf. So you're going to experience all that spell pushback again.
Well, I think they said they're not putting the spell pushback. So like some things like that, so they had spell pushback for a little bit, and it's just a bad design. What it does is it just punishes you for playing certain classes, and it makes fights kind of more RNG. So it's just bad. Like if your healer gets pushed back on a crucial heal that has to go off, and then the tank dies because of it, you just wipe, right? So it kind of adds, you know, there's ways to play around it with like paladin concentration auras, stuff like that. But it makes it like, it's just bad design of a fight overall, and that's kind of why it got removed very quickly. So I think they said that they're going to have it pre-nerf, but without the spell pushback, which I think is fine.
Gotcha.
I think there's some mechanics that were just like, you know, they weren't like, you know, fully thought out or fully fleshed out ideas that didn't really get. They really weren't like, you know, man, this has to be back in the game. It's so nostalgic. I mean, it'll be, you know, it does make the fight a little bit harder having to push back if a tank can die from taking too much damage, type of thing. But I think it's okay. Like I think it's fine to do stuff like that. I think there's going to be some. I think they also said there's obviously not going to be bugs in the game. They're not going to try and, you know, patch to intentionally put bugs back in the game. But, you know, it should be fine like that. I think that's a good way to go about it. As long as it's like, you know, the damage and stuff, the mechanics, the abilities, the health. If that's all like in the pre-nerf state, that's fine. You know, stuff like that pushback, I think that's okay to go without.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that's thanks for the explanation on pre-nerf. And if you guys have any burning questions in your side that you really think will apply to a lot of people, so like put them in the chat. We'll see if there's anything interesting there. So we went over the phases. We went over the 2.4.3 patch. Maybe, Crix, you make tons of videos, and you still are. We'll shout out your YouTube channel a million times. What are the implications of patch 2.4.3? Are there any? And because you're always asking, like, this guide's going to change if it's a different patch. This guide's going to change if it's a different patch. What can you say about 2.4.3 to the people?
Yeah, are they going to stick with 2.4.3 for everything, or is it just going to be like the talents and everything?
Everything 2.4.3.
I think they got the. I don't think they're going to do everything like that, because that goes back to the honor set with the PvP, right? That if it's at 2.4.3, that's the leveling change. That's the You're going to easily get your honored from the rep. It makes the
No,
at the end of 2.43. The game is easy. That's the easiest part of the game after all the nerfs.
They already said the leveling changes in 2.43.
Yeah, they did the leveling.
But
because that came in 2.3.
Windows or something like those kind of things. That's gonna be with the phases, right? That doesn't make sense.
If stuff is getting released, like
I agree
Classic
with
was
you.
like that too, right? Like if a set comes out during ZG patch, it's still going to come out, or a potion comes out during ZG patch, it's going to come out during ZG patch. But the talents and the gear are going to have one final form value from the very start at 2.43.
Talents, gear, spells, that's locked in, I think, at 2.43. I think there's no... It just doesn't make sense from a developer point of view to ever try and have different iterations of that.
Okay, good.
Like if you're trying to make it... If you do that, you have to have a different client, because if not, the tooltips will all be different. Then you have to have, like, 4 different revision builds for each different patch, and it just becomes a development nightmare where you have to constantly be changing the patch. But you found a bug on this version of it, and now you got to apply that bug to 5 different versions of the game and hope it doesn't mess anything up there. It's just like a nightmare. Like it's not worth the effort for like a very minimal portion of the population getting something that's questionable whether it's good or not.
Yeah, one of the big things that change a lot of times, like you asked me, the reason I said a lot of things matter on that, you might have to turn me up. I had to turn my gain down.
I turned it up.
I think a lot of the things when I make the videos and I say that is I'm talking about gearing guides. I try to do a lot of gearing guides. And in these previous videos, 2.43 or really it's not even 2.43 gear, it's 2.1 itemization, like Borby just said. You have the 2.0 itemization, which is a lot of shitty gear and stuff like druids and stuff like other classes are like way worse than if it was just simply 2.1. 2.1 also came up because of 2.43. The good reason they're doing that is because now you have your hit gems, which helps out drastically.
But I don't know if we do though, right? Like the hit gems. I think that might be something that they do.
You think the itemization?
Yeah, I think that's something they might. Like hit gems, like it's not something like the itemization is like they have to go edit the database and change all the items and what the stats are and the values. And then when the new patch comes out, they have to change it again, right? Like that's they're not going to do that, but like enabling a drop, putting a drop at 0% is not a big deal. It takes 2 seconds.
Didn't they do that in Classic? I'm pretty sure they did that in
Classic.
Classic.
They did, right, for drops and stuff like that. I think they also messed quite a few things up. I didn't play Classic, but I think they messed a lot of the phases up, and they had items available for crafting and dropping and stuff that wasn't supposed to be out, like rep items as well. I think they did mess some things up, so hopefully they learn from that and don't have the same mistakes. But
yeah, so yeah, I mean, if they that's a lot of work, man. If they go 2.0 into 2.1, that's fine. But if they said 2.4, that's why I said, did they say 2.43 all around? If that's what I'm.
Yeah, there's no real clarification, but I think that's what I'm saying. I think like spells, talents, and items. I think those you can you're guaranteed those are at 2.4.3. Everything else is kind of up. Like Kargoz was saying, like if a potion comes out on ZA, it'd probably only be on ZA, right? Like I think that stuff that should be like that. They'll probably do that, but you never know.
So pre-bis lists and all these lists are still up in the air, right? Like because 243 items, 243 in terms of the values on spells, items, all that is different from the timing of when this stuff releases. So from your perspective as a guide maker too, Crix, you don't really know for sure what the pre-bis lists and all these things are going to be right now because there's still some wiggle room with how they want to do it, with how they can possibly do it.
No, I'm going to build it off of 2.43 because he literally said everything. He said everything is going to be 2.4.3. So unless they changes it, which they can, then I'll just change it.
Wait, so you're building lists assuming every item is in the game then?
No. I'm talking like because if I'm making a previous list, it doesn't matter. All those are in the game. They're not going to release version 3 of the engineering goggles because that specifically came out with Sunwell, right? The stuff that specifically came out.
What
with
about these gems and stuff? Like Abide was saying, hit gems. There's meta gems, stuff that comes out potentially at later phases. We don't know if it'll be there.
No idea. Yeah, we don't. That's the thing is we don't know.
I think it's mostly the minor things we're unsure about, right? There's some items that only, like crafted items that only drop in certain patches. If I had to take a guess, I would say most of it is going to be 2.43 and major items only. Like you mentioned the Sunwell goggles. Well, those only drop in Sunwell trash, so that's not a big deal, right? Executioner is another thing, right? That's only from ZA, but it's from later patch stuff. There's stuff like that. But then there's some really like minor things. Like there's the caster got like meta gem that only comes out later on, and until that comes out, you use the physical damage meta gem. So you're kind of like, I don't see. There's no real downside to putting the caster gem in from the start, right? I think for the most, what's that?
EMF too, right? Didn't that come 2.1? Dark.
Yeah, exactly. I really don't think there's too much of a downside for them to have like just do everything 2.43, except for like the very major like reputation items, crafted items, stuff like that has like a larger impact on players, character progression, gearing, stuff like that. Like If it's just like, oh, you know, you don't have to use a shitty gem because now you have the proper option in there, you know, the spell hit gem versus, or like, you know, the caster meta gem or different potions that should drop, stuff like that. If that's in the game from the start, I don't think it's a really big deal.
Do you
Yeah,
have?
I think it's more helpful. I think people would much prefer 2.1 itemization than 2.0. That's like hands down, I think.
Yeah.
Do you have these lists ready, Crix?
I actually.
Sorry, Dex, go ahead.
What?
I just wanted to say, like, if you look at Classic, they did itemize it a little bit differently with drop rates and all this. Like, if you look at the dagger from Maradon, the queen from the queen or princess, I mean.
Yeah.
It started out being like 0.2% drop rate, and then in the later phases 2% because it changed in Classic to be like that. So they might also do this in TBC. I don't know on which items. That's something you guys might know better. But it wouldn't surprise me that they will do some itemization throughout the different phases and change that up.
I kind of hope they do, because if you look at, as a warlock, or I guess a mage would be too, right? Your previous wand is called Blackstock out of Underbog, right? So that is a shit wand in 2.0, but once it becomes 2.1, it's on par with the T4 wand that you get from Magtheridon's. Exact same stats.
I don't think they're going to change. I don't think they're going to change any stats on any item. But what Tactics said is actually really interesting, though, guys. I think this is an overlooked portion of Classic. Like, they did do weird stuff. Yeah, remember Devil Swords? They made it so Devil Swords would spawn faster and stuff too. Like they did some custom shit for Classic. You know, they kind of just like picked and choose. Oh, let's buff this drop rate, do this. So they could do something like that for TBC. Like, there is a precedent there that if something needs to be tweaked a little bit so that it's more in line with their, you know, values for the game, like they could do that. I don't know what those would be in TBC, but it's within their.
I think it's a good just quality of life improvement for the game, right? Like, instead of allowing, as they did something as well with Black Lotus as well, right? To try and like fix the price. I don't know. I don't think it really worked too well, but it helped alleviate the issue at least, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They tried to make it less predictable for bots as well. I think at some point. They also have changed a lot of different spawns that doesn't give XP now. Like, some mobs in the game don't give XP because botters were using them. Like in Western Plaguelands as an example. I believe there's also something in Winterspring. So they do change the game even in Classic. It's just thing that people. It's not things that people really know. They don't publish it anywhere.
Yeah, they don't publish it.
Like, it's just things that I randomly notice when I'm doing a quest while speedrunning. Then suddenly the mob doesn't give me XP anymore. like.
That's so true. Man. That is so true.
I think this is also on the 2.0 items, like, real quick. I think this is a good point in chat. Nobody wants to run content for items that are shit on 2.0, but they're good on the future patch. Like, I mean, that's pretty much like, I don't know. I think that's a really good point of like another reason why why they won't do different itemization, right? I don't think they do it strictly just from a developer point of view, but it's just bad for the player experience.
Yeah, and it's more work for them. So you have 2.0 where nobody really likes it. I mean, I know some people probably like it, but not a lot of people like it. They prefer 2.1, and it's more work for Blizzard, so that's two strikes against it. I would bet both nuts that they're not going to do 2.0. So that's why I'm building my based off of that.
Well, guys, another huge takeaway from this BlizzCon, and I think it's another one that nobody was expecting. Def Camp was like literally shocked to the floor when he heard it. I was pretty shocked. I didn't think they were going to be doing it. Pre-patch confirmed, and you will be able to level a Draenei and a Blood Elf momentarily. Like, once they get that pre-patch going, you will be able to level a Draenei or a Blood Elf. Now, guys, this pre-patch, I don't know if there's going to be other changes to it. They didn't really elaborate in a whole lot of detail. But what can we guess would be in the pre-patch? There's got to be a few other things, maybe a talent point reset. I'm trying to think.
It would act like a pre-patch, like a retail pre-patch, right?
So what is that? What is that?
I think you can actually just go read it. I think they're going to do the same pre-patch as back then, where I'm pretty sure they add the AoE cap, so you're no longer AoE as a mage anymore as well. There's a lot of changes, actually, that I think they're going to do, if I had to guess.
It depends on, are they going to go 2.43 with the pre-patch? Or are they going to go nice and slow? Like, they're going to revamp they're going to get a few it's a pre-patch, so everyone's talents are going to go into TBC, right? I would assume. It's a safe assumption that everyone's talents are going to swap to the new one, just like a pre-patch would be for retail, right?
So you think all the talents are going to switch in this pre-patch?
I would assume so. I don't know. I mean,
I don't know. Like, it could be like Tactics saying. I think it's one of two ways. I think it's either like Tactics is saying is going to be just a strict pre-patch, exactly like it was before. I think more likely it's going to be just these characters are unlocked now, and you can level these races and these character combos. I think that's more likely just because it's a bit different, right? It's not exactly how it was in Classic. It's not the same client, it's not being updated to a new client.
You want to hear a hot take? I think they're switching the talents, bro. I think they're gonna. They
could be, yeah.
Switching talents too. I agree with you.
I think it's gonna be weird seeing a Draenei leveling with classic talents. That's gonna be like a fucking oxymoron or whatever the right term is. Like that's gonna be really weird. Like a blood elf.
That's why it's gonna be weird right there. Yeah.
With classic talents on a blood elf, Like I think soon, like very soon, you're gonna have TBC talents in Classic WoW right now. How insane is that?
That could be the case. That's exactly how the pre-patch was, right?
They implied that TBC will launch at 2.4.3, but pre-patch will likely be 2.03, which means you should be able to AoE dungeon boost your bells in Draenei.
Oh.
But at the same time, if it's pre-patch, is that one of those things where you're leveling your Draenei or your Belf on that new TBC thing you just transferred to, right? Or is it going to be the old server? You know how they said you have the option to move your character up to the TBC realm?
I think it'll be the old server, and then once TBC actually patches,
you'll have so it has to be the new server then. So
yeah.
Then it has to be a pre-patch, right? Then it has to be after they do the clone option and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it's clone option, and then pre-patch goes out on the new TBC version of the servers only, and then it's like the actual pre-patch, and then it's the characters you can level up and stuff. The question is, like, if jewel crafting is going to be available. That'd be kind of interesting, right?
Ooh.
The crazy thing is, man, there's a lot of people, like, a big part of the hype for TBC is being able to play these Blood Elves and Draenei's and go through the old zones. That's happening well before the game even releases. It's going to be weird. I don't know. Maybe that's going to help the hype, diminish the hype. Maybe it'll be good. It'll be bad. It's very strange. We're going to potentially have months of seeing Blood Elves and Draenei's around us in Classic, but TBC isn't out, right? It could be that type of situation really soon. And then I'm glad we have Tactics here, because Tactics has been working hard on like Blood Elf and Draenei roots and understanding TBC leveling and stuff. What is your take on this Tactics? Do you have roots ready that people could use on your guide for Blood Elf and Draenei and stuff, or?
We're currently working on it, but like in general. For me, it's really sad that they released it early, which is complete opposite of everyone else. I haven't really heard a lot of people being not happy about it, because they want to play Blood Elf maybe, and then it's out early, and that's just a good thing for them. But I want to bring something else up that I just realized. I don't know if you guys know this, but this is going to be a lot of content potentially. If they, in 2.0, do put out the talent and everything, we might have skirmishes for level 60 with Paladin and like with Blood Elf and Draenei out. So in pre-patch we might have skirmishes, and there might be tournaments then in Classic at level 60 with all this. I think that could be very interesting.
That is true.
I think
see how that goes.
Hardcore.
Because
go ahead, finish. Sorry.
We have war games and everything, so you could potentially set up two arena tournaments at level 60
with shamans and valleys and stuff. Yeah, that's weird, man. That's weird. That is weird.
I think a big reason, myself and probably Bida will agree, and a lot of people would agree, on the hardcore rating side is you allowing them to level up paladins pre-patch wise and shamans for Alliance is that T4 race got way better. Because otherwise you wouldn't have a paladin in Karazhan. That's paladin Wonderland, right? You're barely getting your buffs from a paladin. You can do a lot of the buffs that the blessings or whatever at level 25, but some of them you can't. But that's giving your whole raid the buffs. That's having your prop paladin go ahead and spank Karazhan with you or whatever else you're doing. That's huge. Speed wise, talking about speed wise, rating wise. Otherwise you wouldn't have a paladin, and that sucks.
Yeah, but the thing that sucks for me is that it's not possible to have any race now. From 1 to 70, it doesn't exist at this point, because now there's not Paladin or there's not Blood Elf, there's not Draenei race, there's no 1 to 70, no fresh.
You could do it right now though, Tactics. You could, as soon as they do the pre-patch, you could just race to 60 on Blood Elf. Just do it right now.
Yeah, but that's gonna be boosted. Of course, it would also be boosted as a Blood Elf, but the only potential you now have is a 1 to 60 boosted run or a 60 to 70.
What do you mean
boosted run?
What do you mean boosted run?
Well, you could just call it unassisted run.
Boosted. I mean, like you have people helping you, like your whole guild running around helping you.
Oh yeah.
Well, there could isn't there?
You can do no, but just do that. That happens. That can happen on any server though. You just unassisted, right?
Yeah, you said
But
records all the time.
Tactics is just a
so I wanna
grinder. He
just-
likes the leveling, right? He likes the competition of it. So he wants like a even playing field for other people to compete against,
Yeah,
whether or not
like
it's even
now-
a thing. Right?
If I want to go for first 70, I'm just gonna get 20 of my viewers. I have to pay for them to transfer to the same server that's a low pop, and then I can go for world's first 70. That's the only way. It doesn't show skill. It just shows that I have a big following that could help me potentially. I'm willing to pay money for people to help me. And
Okay.
before with Joker as an example, it was a big hype. He had 500,000 viewers when he reached
500,000, holy shit.
60, right?
Yeah.
It was like a new record on Twitch almost, right?
For WoW, yeah.
And that's just not gonna happen now. Now the only real thing that's gonna happen, of course, some people might care about get the first guy that gets 70, but at the same time, it's not really an achievement. It just means that your whole guild was helping you or something.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean,
It
the
doesn't feel the
position on
same.
it is they're pretty
Revenue
much
because of
writing
gear.
off leveling in TBC, right? Like they're just like TBC isn't about leveling, we're writing it off, like because
I have a question for you, Tactics, about the leveling. Was sharding ever a play in leveling? Like, could you ever like hop shards and go AOE this pack and then hop a shard again?
Oh yeah, yeah. Like a lot of people, they discredited Joker because he did this 58 to 60, but even to this day, a lot of people are like, oh, he used this, but he did it for 2 levels, and the only reason he started doing it was because someone came over and started pulling and trying to kill him at some level 40s. And then he asked for a new shot, and then he realized, wait, you can just keep getting new pulls this way. So he got like saved maybe 2 hours, but he gotten world first anyway. So yes, you can do that.
But doesn't that kind of scuff the whole competition? Because you can't do that on these private servers where you love racing, right? So doesn't that kind of scuff it anyways from the start? Because in TBC, like the sharding is going to be really bad because everyone's in one zone, right? So there's going to be massive layering and sharding, right? So it's going to be like an even higher extent than it was in Classic, in my opinion.
It won't
They're
even
all
matter,
funneling
so-
in one zone, right?
Okay, so this is kind of a secret, a little bit. So basically, you can get 60 to 62 within an hour in TBC. What you have to do, like, is it's so try hard. So I shouldn't be almost talking about this, but I would have figured this out anyway. I heard it from someone else, and then I saw I saw a document of this. So basically, you can get enough quest and random items and like scrolls that starts a quest, or a CG items, or all the Naxxramas items, all the Black Moon Lair tier Super 5, all this random stuff, like random, and all of these quests gives 6k XP. So you'll be able to get 60 to 62 instantly, and then you can start, if you want to be a quester, this is how you get ahead. Then you can quest in Sangamash at the 61, 62 quest that no one else can pick up, and you will get this instantly. But that's very tried because it has to be a character that has not been...
Yeah, you haven't done any of the raid quests.
Yeah,
or
haven't done
anything like
any
that,
quests before, right? But to go back to you, like the first 60 to 70 race is just gonna be someone like you will auto attack a mob, and then you'll have 20 people attacking it and finishing it. So I'm just gonna go. If I was going for it, I'll just go to Nagrand, the 60 to 64 to 65 mobs. I'll go there maybe at 62. Then I have like 20 60s that will just finish off the mob because I still get the full XP.
Yeah,
Because the way
yeah.
it works is if the mob is green for the character that is attacking it, you get the full XP. At it's a level 60, a level 64 mob, it's still green for them, so I'll get the full XP, even though I did 100 damage on it. So that
Yeah,
way
as long
can
as you
just-
tag it, right? But
Yeah. Then I will just get like so much XP power, so that's how you would do it.
I guess technically that was in the game from the start, though, right? Like that's even how
Yeah.
like a theme leveled in like
Yeah.
actual TBC, and you got banned for doing that. But it's the same principle.
the mob tagging.
Yeah, you can do it.
Man.
That's no change, and I think that's fine. But at least back then we had fresh servers. In TBC we had fresh servers.
Yeah,
so
that's a big
why
point too.
It sucks that they are not even they don't even make it now when we had it back in TBC. But yeah, it
Well,
is
I think leveling
still
meta is
a
gonna be
possibility.
The leveling's gonna be weird in TBC, and I'll tell you that I have for the past 2 weeks been boosting characters to 60, equipping them with full phase 6 in-game classic gear, and 1 to 2 shotting my way the entire leveling experience.
Damn.
So if you look at tactics speedrunning, pretty sure he doesn't have a character at 60 in full phase 6 gear versus every other rogue in the world or whatever class hunter with that full 6 gear. It's like I didn't know it was that big of a difference, but it is.
Yeah, it's night and day. Like your sustain is higher because you're killing things faster, so you take less damage, so you have less downtime. It just snowballs like insane, right? Like,
well, we know sort of a lot of about what TBC is going to look like now, right? They've added a lot of color, and whether you like the painting or you don't like the painting, we can now start planning. So it's not your first ringer. Your first rodeo, Abide and Crix. You guys have done the TBC life cycle many times. Pre-patch is coming. What immediately is going through your mind if you're trying to prepare yourself for what is coming? A lot of people are like, okay, what do I do? I'm in Classic. What do I start? What do I do? What do I do? I need to start moving and preparing. There's no fresh.
Get that first prop paladin. Get a prop paladin up, and if you need a prop paladin, I would use a prop paladin. That's your gold, unless you're just massive gold in Classic right now. But if you're not, like me and Abide, with just like one Classic character and 1,000 gold, you better get that paladin up. That's your gold farm, and it's always going to be good. A prop paladin is a new mage. Prop paladin is the new Classic mage. Okay, that AOE doesn't matter to them. They're just OP as fuck the whole game, right? I would just get up or shaman if you want a shaman, whatever floats your boats. But I would definitely get a prop paladin and just use the pre-patch wisely with that. Stock up. It depends on if they're gonna let you sit, like you said. Are they gonna let you JC? Are they gonna let you do? What are they gonna allow you to do during the pre-patch? We have to wait and find out.
That pally may not do anything for you as soon as it goes live because you're going to be leveling your character up to 70, and then you're going to start like doing the grind and stuff.
You can prepare it at least to 60.
Yeah, but you may not be able to hop onto it for a little bit, right? For like a couple.
Yeah, but it's still there at 60 instead of like, oh, I now have to level this paladin as well from 1 to 70 instead of 60 to 70. It's a large difference, right?
Yeah, and you having a paladin at 60 or any kind of level up there, that's another buff for your raid. So say, for example, for some reason you guys are 70, you guys are going to go to Kargoz, you only have one a holy paladin or whatever the hell it is. You don't have a paladin at all because nobody.
Or second group even, right? Or third group doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, anybody. So for some reason there's no paladins. Well, I got mine. It's all at 60. Let me go. You summon me in real quick. I'll buff everybody up. Then I'll fucking hearth out. You know what I mean? Something like that. So it's just really helpful.
Gotcha.
I mean, yeah, that's what I'm looking for as well. Like, I mean, I'm still over here with my fingers crossed and hoping that like they forgot to say something and they're like, oh yeah, we're doing fresh servers. You know?
By the way, dude.
By the way, we're doing fresh. I mean, I'm over here living in a dream world, just praying, you know. But
yeah.
I mean, in reality, you know, you have to level up. Like even getting to 60, and you don't have to go like full try hard like Taxis was saying. I mean, that's the ideal world. You know, you just get 62 instantly and bypass the horde of people. But at least like get some quests in your log ready to turn in. There's a lot of like items you can pick up and be ready. You can very easily get 15, 20 quests ready to turn in and get, you know, half a level or something going right away.
I'm dreading having to do this, but it's gonna have to happen. Like, oh, sorry, Tax, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if you want to just get ahead of the pack, and if it also depends, we haven't gotten the answer of dungeon. Like, how many dungeons can we go into in TBC? Is it gonna be 25 cap? Is it
Sim cap
no
is
cap?
Classic, I would bet. I mean, I don't see them just changing arbitrarily the dungeon cap, right? They already reduced it to whatever it is now.
I could see them reducing it on launch, though, right? I could see them removing it temporarily on launch because botting's not going to be a thing in dungeons right away. I mean, I guess it could be in classic dungeons, but I could see them at least. Yeah. Even just removing it on TBC specific dungeons, I could see that being a thing.
Okay.
At least on the start, like I think, hopefully something like that.
But like, will it even matter now? Like a bot, they will just be instantly 58. They won't even care anymore. Like the cap is actually kind of pointless now because they just pay $15 or however, and plus a level 58 character, however much that will cost. Then they can go for 25 on each. So it'll be so much easier for the botters to just at level 58. Instantly going to CG or whatever. Oh, CG won't be worth as much, of course, but just as an example.
But also, Paladin up, put it farm in Strathalholm, like.
Oh, dude, everybody's gonna have 50.
Exactly.
Everyone's gonna have a prop alley though, yeah, right? With the boost, yeah, you should be able to make it just a prop alley good to go.
And you should.
No. This is one thing that I realized. You can't do it as a Blood Elf and Draenei, right? So the two things that's gonna be huge for leveling in terms of guides, what I will say that I will focus on is the Horde Paladin guide and the Alliance Shaman, because you can't boost those. You can't boost Blood Elves and Draenei.
True.
So those two is gonna be like what people will be looking for in a way, or like because they're not able to get them boosted, right?
Why can't you boost them?
They just can't.
You can't boost.
Races are immune to boost.
Yeah.
What?
No boosting on Draenei and Blood Elves.
Yep.
So that means
Is that what you're going for?
Wait, wait,
common.
so you can't have 15 of your viewers go start one with you and just do the same thing you were talking about? Isn't that boosting?
Oh,
I'm
no,
talking
we're talking about the
instant
58.
boost.
Can't use the
Oh,
58
yeah, okay,
purchase
sorry. Yeah, okay, I see what you mean.
But okay, more on the line of tangible tips and stuff, right? So what can we do? Chat, throw it in there. Think creatively now. There's a lot of consumables which we can mention that are still good in the TBC meta that are basically equally as good. Swiftness Pot being one, Demonic and Dark Runes being other ones. Apparently the flasks are still pretty good. I mean, they're expensive, right? Like Supreme Powers, but apparently they're like close in power level in terms of the TBC ones. There's a lot of consumables you can have, right? Prepare yourself to be in a position to be fully flasked with 100% uptime moving into TBC. All the people that are like, you know, kind of moving into TBC and have big plans and dreams and stuff, they're 100% flask is like table stakes, right? So sorry,
And
get ready for that?
till 63. So.
Yep.
Actually,
Sorry, go ahead.
like what I don't know why we got away from it earlier, but what I was gonna say as well is if your goal is just to get ahead, and if you have a fresh character, it doesn't even have to be that fresh. Just like you said before, Abide. I'm sorry if I said your name wrong.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah. If you have 25 quests completed, plus you might have other quests that you can just turn in, like maybe Cloth turns in or something if you've never done that, you might be able to get 40 quests, and then you can instantly get 61, and you can go over to the 61 requirement quest in Sangamash, and then you're going to be ahead. And that's when you can apply all these potion strategies and just being ahead of the curve and trying to stay ahead if you want to stay ahead, if that's your goal.
Now, if you don't know a lot about TBC, if it's new to you, if you feel confused, if this is overwhelming, probably the recommendation is to form a good cleave group and get together. Like, that is if you are the type of person that wants to kind of sweat it out, right? But you feel like intimidated by knowing TBC routing and stuff, it's not as bad as it is in Classic. It's kind of like more linear, the way the quests go, right? Like you have a couple hubs per zone, you kind of just progress through them and stuff like that. So it's not as bad, but that's another option on the table as well, right? The marks as well. I don't know how many maximum you can have from each one, but I would just stock up as many as you possibly can from each department. Are there any other consumables, Abide, that you can think of that would be valuable on launch? It's got to be a ton, right?
For leveling, you mean, or just in general?
Just in general. I mean, stuff that's in Classic that's going to move. I mean, Elixir of Demons, that's more rating.
I mean, there's a ton. Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of rating stuff. I mean, you could, full tryhard with Demonic Runes while leveling. You can use, obviously the mana pots aren't the best, but spamming a mana pot on cooldown is a major improvement to leveling if you're a mana user that goes through mana relatively quickly. I mean, elixirs are a big deal, flasks, stuff like that. If you can play, if you're a class that has mana problems, again, like mana elixirs, mana potions, stuff like that, like anything that reduces downtime is big, right? Maybe you're your classic warrior, something that doesn't have mana problems, or you have more health problems than mana problems. Just try and like adjust your weaknesses. Try and address your weaknesses and improve on that. Just whatever sort of consumables you're willing to spend on that. That's always a big thing. Mm-hmm. I would assume Tactics knows the most about what sort of cheeky things you can bring to leveling to kind of boost past things.
I actually have like a whole list of what I wanted to prepare. Like, I can actually name every single item right now, I think. But that was from like 1 to 60, not that much 60 to 70, but like I wanted to have like all these major mana potions, like lips, all these kind of things. Like, they can be useful. It's stuff that you have in raids, but you can also stack extra scrolls maybe, or like you can even get Songflower if you want for the first hour if you're that tryhard.
Yeah, you should get full world buffs, like go crazy on it the first 2 hours.
Yeah, I wonder how world buffs is gonna be though, because
I think this should diminish off you once you hit over 63. Like, it should only be good once you hit 64. It should be like they should fall off, but you shouldn't hit 64 before the duration of them is gone anyway. So
no, yeah.
I guess what you should do then is you should just have like all types of nature resistant potions, all these kind of things that you might use in some raids, because you might meet mobs well be faster. So just act like you're in Naxxramas and you need full everything, and then just go beast for your class and go for it as long as you can, and as long as your wallet allows you, I guess.
When can we get those TBC flasks, guys? Like, realistically, you've been there on Fresh before. Like, are alchemists able to get those going pretty quick, or do they have to cap out at 70 first? Get the just the alchemy flasks, like the brute force one for hunters, or relentless, whatever it's called, relentless assault.
That's you're not gonna get that one leveling right away. You got to go hunt the pattern down unless someone has.
They're all like discoveries. You have to make other ones.
Yeah. So.
But it's RNG kind of reliant. You can get it right away. It could take you a while, something like
that. But the classic flasks are barely, literally, I'm not kidding, barely less than the TBC ones. So just pop a Supreme Power or whatever the class you're playing and pump. All you really need to do. Put some oil on your fucking weapon because you can get it in classic, and it's BIS for a lot of. I'm talking about casters. It's BIS. Slap a flask of Supreme Power on, get some demonic runes or dark runes, however you want to do it. I wouldn't do dark unless you're rich, because dark runes are going to be expensive. So you might save that. That's a good gold. That's a good gold dump if you want some gold. To make some gold. Demonic runes, farm them up, and just get to pumping. You're gonna shred Outlands, especially if you have any kind of gear on, any at all. I leveled a T2 mage, only T2 on, and I fucking was 1 to 2 shotting things again. Like it's, you guys are gonna absolutely shred this stuff.
So what is your plan though to Abide? Are you like knowing everything that you know? Are you going in questing, starting in Zangarmarsh, going through that normal trajectory, or do you have a plan to go through dungeons, or a combination of both?
Tactics will probably puke a bit, but I think I'm gonna basically just slow do dungeons, get reps to Honored, go to the next zone, do the same thing. I'll be super slow at leveling, but I'll have my reps done, so it'll be pretty nice.
But that is very valuable, right? Maybe you can explain why like that is so valuable to your mind. Your reps done. What do you mean by that? Fully exalted? Fully, revered by the time you get to 70? Like, is there a
at least honored?
Some people might think that there's no dungeon cleave meta because they think the XP in dungeons in TBC is very low to the point where it's like you can't even level by that way. I don't know if you have an opinion on that or if you think that's true or false. Or...
Not a think, it is. It's true. It's not a think. The XP is garbage. It's the fact is that XP going to be better than fighting crowds for quests. That's what it's going to boil down to.
Yeah, it's like
you're not going to get classic XP
thing, right?
like you saw with classic. It's not going to be like that.
I think we'll learn this in the beta. How much are they gonna layer if we see 60 to 70? Like if we get a big beta or big stress test, that's when we might learn. Like how many people are they gonna allow into the zones? If they allow 50 people in per faction in Hellfire and there's just like 100 layers, of course you can just quest. But if they make 3 layers and you have 1,000 people trying to do the same quest, then you might be better to try to get ahead via dungeons at first. It also depends on the cap then again, like how many dungeons can we do? There'll be a lot of things that we just don't know yet, so we can't fully decide at this point. And then if you really try hard, then you would also start thinking about reputation, right? And you would think, what reputations are the most important? What quests should I do for the reputations that you're like, just to also get reputations via quest. Like some might not give anything that you need, while others is super important for your raid progression. So there's a lot to consider with routing and everything at that point if you really want to be triad. And yeah, I don't think that's even made yet, if I have to be honest. Like to change between doing all the quests that are the most important for the progression in Outland and also doing the right dungeon cleave. And then the last thing I want to say is, in Classic, on private server, dungeon cleave was really bad in Classic. Like Classic private servers, or vanilla private servers, it was really, really bad on private servers. You didn't do it. Then we got to Classic, and Classic vanilla, and then it was super good, and everyone did it in the beta. So it could end up being the same thing in TBC, that it will be better to do dungeon cleave. So we need to wait and see how that will go, because
I think that was because they realized that the private servers had the wrong formula for experience, right? On elite mobs,
Yeah, it wasn't just that. It was a ton of things. It was just the Classic was bugged, and you could 10-man, and you would still gain the same XP as 5-man.
The raids,
and the values was wrong, so it was just even better than what it should have been. But it still might be good in TBC with full Nax gear if you have the right pump. You still might be able to. I
mean, I think there's
good.
There's multiple benefits to it, though, right? Like, I mean, I think in my opinion, it's slightly better if you're not in pre-raid gear, because you're just going to get owned. I mean, I guess it's a PvP server only thing, but like in the open world, if you're in greens and the guy's in full tier 3, he's just going to own you, right? But like the benefit is like the way reputations work in TBC is you get reputation in the dungeon until you're honored, until you're maxed honored. So you're 5,999 out of 6,000 rep. After that, you get no more rep in normal dungeons. But the quests give you rep the whole time, all the way up. So it's ideal that you don't do any quests until you're at least honored, and then you can go back and do quests and get revered right away. Also, there's some benefit to it because you get more gold from quests at level 70, but it's not that big of a deal for the entry quests. There's some quests that you do want to do right away that give you good trinkets, like there's a hit trinket in Zinger Marsh and Terrakar rather, and then there's some really good pieces here and there. Like Zinger Marsh has some really nice hit rating, like wet sword and hit rating gloves and stuff like that. Right? There's certain quests around there that you do want to do. Maybe it's just a one-up quest or a little mini change, something like that. It will be very ideal to plan your questing out. Maybe even like do some combination of I want to do this chain here and then grind these dungeons and then go to that zone, do this chain, and go to the next dungeon, cleave it down, stuff like that. Like it's not gonna. I don't think the best route. It's not going to be the fastest to do dungeons, but I think it's going to be like the best kind of mix of everything.
And I still think if you have a solid play group and you hit the dungeons and you're consistent, you hold each other accountable, and you say we're playing for 12 hours, boys. Set your alarm clock for this time. We're waking up and we're pushing each other. We're keeping each other motivated. The banter keeps it from getting boring because it will get boring. That in reality, even though in theory it's not the fastest leveling, in reality, if you committed to that line of play, you're ending up like top few percentile points of people hitting there. Like, and I saw it with Classic. Some of the people that they weren't that high speed, bro. They were like kind of just all over the place, right? And they got together and they cleaved up, and I was just like out in the open world and stuff, and they got there a little slower, but when they crossed the finish line, bro, they were in high spirits. They were chilling. They had a turnkey dungeon group. They were all just had this like camaraderie about them, and I'm just thinking to myself, man, that sounds like a solid play. There's other things to keep in mind now too. On the Endless 1 server, remember when that came out? Navik and I were leveling on that one on launch, and we got up to the Ring of Blood area, and we thought, oh man, let's go do Ring of Blood. Like, it's gonna be such good XP. Be very mindful. Like, it's going to be an absolute clown fiesta there. There will be so many people at the Ring of Blood that it's probably not going to be even worth remotely touching it, especially if you're on a PvP server, bro. Good luck. You're just going to be sitting there with like hundreds of people over on top of the quest giver, even if it is layered. Even if there's a million layers to the onion, you're not even able to see this quest giver. You're going to need like a special macro to like interact with the NPC. I wouldn't plan on getting Ring of Blood done. That's one thing that I'll throw out there as well. There's other stuff, like trinkets, like what you said about trinkets, Abide. Like, the trinkets are nasty, like the Blade's Breath trinket, or whatever it's called, in
the Hellfire question, yeah.
Look at your trinkets. If they're not good, those should be like...
I mean, that trinket for some classes is like, it's like your best until you get like the level 70 heroic trinket or something. Like, that trinket's very strong.
For sure. I was using riding crop.
For every class, it's like second Priebus until you get an actual badge one. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's going to be definitely private.
Can I just say one thing quickly on the so the private servers have that same issue with Blade's Edge, right? Because it's everyone playing at the same time. So we mentioned earlier about how they did some small quality of life changes that were undocumented in Classic, right? I forget what the examples were. But in private servers, most private servers do a quality of life with the Ring of Blood where you can do it in the raid group. And something like that, I would be perfectly fine with. Like, if you could invite 40 people to your group and do the quest instead of, 10 5-man groups trying to do the quest at the same time and everyone's spawning a different mob on top of each other and, oh, you tagged my mob, I tagged yours. Like, it's an absolute shit show if you can't do it in a raid group. And a lot of servers fix that by letting you do that specific quest in a raid group. And I think that's a good change. I think there are like lots of small quality of life changes they could make like that do make the experience a lot better. And I think most of them would be fine.
Another thing that you really should keep in mind for any fresh server that you always play, even though this is not going to be fresh, it's fresh in a sense, guys. Like, I really mean this more so than any other advice. Ask Abide, ask Crix, anybody who cat tactics. Every single fresh server has its own unique set of challenges. Something goes wrong, something goes right. Keep your eyes and ears open, and that's why it's also important to play in a play group. Because as soon as word gets out, where it's like, yo, Onslaught cracked the code, yo, they figured out how to get inside that jail cell in BRD. Let's go. Like, that stuff will happen. For TBC, it might be something related to boost. Somebody will like borderline break the game in some way, and you just have to have your eyes and ears open and be willing to adapt. And I remember I talked with Gil Nash. He's Apes Big Brain EU Warrior player. Still plays in Apes right now, and he was just saying, the best levelers on Fresh aren't like necessarily the speed levelers. They're the ones that are the best at adapting to the unique circumstances that you get on a fresh launch. And it's like, you basically hope for the best, but plan for the worst and expect the worst. Like, your plan will not go according to plan. Like, it never does. My plan for Classic fell into pieces. It fell into shambles, and hopefully this time around we'll be able to do it a little bit cleaner.
Leveling is going to be AIDS, guys, no matter what. But you got to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of
me and Kargoz has actually been talking about. At one point, I remember we had a conversation about if you should go into a dungeon group or not. And I was like super against going into dungeon groups, but that's on a fresh. I actually think since most people are not going to be playing fresh, I believe dungeon groups is actually going to be probably the best way, even with heavy layering. I don't think they're going to make it so heavy that's also what they said, that they want you to experience the launch, so you probably won't be able to quest the same speed that you normally would be able to. So I think with reputation and with everything, it probably makes sense to do a bunch of dungeon cleave from 60 to 70. I hate saying that because I hate dungeon cleave, but if I have to be honest, I think that's going to be the best way.
Yeah.
I would not say this if it's 1 to 70, because I believe 1 to 60 in TBC, because of the improved XP that you get from quest turn-ins, I believe that questing might actually be better. Or I believe it's going to be better 1 to 60. But 60 to 70 with full Nax gear or with just good gear is probably going to be very efficient to be able to constantly be in combat inside a dungeon, compared to running around picking up some nodes from a quest where you don't even use your gear to speed up your time.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're by yourself too, it's hard to keep yourself motivated playing, right? Let me ask you a simple question, chat. Do you stay up and play longer and like go harder if you're in a group with people, like, and you're on Discord and you're like joking around? Like, you'll stay up and it'll be like 3 a.m. before you even know it, right? Like, it just somehow, it is what it is. Or if you're by yourself, you're gonna get tired at like 10 p.m. You're like, I'm kind of like...
bro, that's us every day. Last week on Diablo. Right?
That's what I'm saying, right? Like, I wouldn't have stayed up till 3 a.m. pushing 115s with you yesterday. Like, if it wasn't, if I was just by myself, I'd give it, So just factor that reality into the situation. Like, and if you are gonna do it in the dungeons, you're gonna cross the finish line with like basically complete dungeon sets. The ability to go back and get that bonus gold from quests, and more than anything else, you're going to have a turnkey play group to hit all the 5-man content with for like the rest of the server if you can stay tight, Okay. So I don't know. It's one way. That's probably what I'll do, just because my motive. You have to be like Tactics level. Tactics can play solo and be as motivated as he needs to be, like all day, every day, like unfazed. Beast mode. But
I think a major part of it as well is like you can't think of it as just the most. What's the fastest way to level possible? Like, it's slower. Maybe it's slower. Maybe it's not slower. But let's say it is slower for the sake of this. You have to realize you're not just losing. It's not just slower leveling, right? You're investing time right now while leveling for time that you would have lost in the future doing reps, right? So you are kind of like exchanging time a little bit. You're still like managing your time playing the game properly. You're still getting your reps up at the same time, so it might be a little slower leveling, but you're still saving the time from the future that you would have done for reps anyway. So it is kind of a trade-off still, and it's not like I'd rather level a little bit slowly and have the reps done when I do get to max level and instantly go into those heroics and get attuned for stuff and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay, I have a question for you now, because I don't know the answer to this, but you said that at one point you won't get reputation, right? Do you think that you will outlevel the dungeons if you spam, let's just say that you spam Hellfire dungeons or Sanghamar's dungeons? Do you think you're gonna, like, do you think you'll cap while doing the dungeons while leveling? Because at that point, if you do cap, maybe you then, like, that's what I talked about routing. Then at that point, you should go out in Sanghamar's, do the quest that gives the reputation for when you're capped. And you can do that in the group as well, and that will save you time in the future as well. You will also be ahead because you might have done the dungeon, so you're not in the big crowd. So I think you need to do a combination maybe and figure out a route for full max on reputation instead of doing it at 70. You can still do it while leveling. So instead of getting the gold at 70, you get the reputation and the XP while leveling.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about the gold too much, in the starting zones at least. Like, I wouldn't worry about the gold until you start looking at like Blade's Edge Mountain, like the level 65 to 67 areas. The gold doesn't make too much of a difference. It's like 1 or 2 gold extra.
Either at all.
Yeah. It's only if you're fresh, right? Basically, if you're a fresh player. I think it's definitely better to do like at least like just for the sake of like really top tier items from leveling to do split stuff. But I think like if you do stuff like you were saying, like you get a bunch of pre-quests ready, you have your log full, a couple items in your bags, you get 61 right away. Ramparts is 58. Like you can get in there at 50. You can technically zone in at 55, but it starts at level 58 and it goes up to like 61, right? So you can level that pretty quickly at like 64 or something like that. That's when it starts becoming a little bit less efficient. So it might even be worth like just maybe to do some sort of half combo. I think the best play would be maybe just straight skip one of the things. Like maybe you farm ramparts a bunch, and then you skip like slay pins and stuff like that. And you just go straight to like the mana tombs or some area around there. Some sort of skip thing like that, or to just do like a half measure and go maybe like halfway to Revered and then stop and go to the next area. But I think that you should definitely do some combos of questing and not just the zone dungeons inside, unless it's like so cancer that you can't even quest. It's definitely going to be best if you do a combination of the two. Even if it's just for items or unlocking certain chains. Like I saw Crix last night do the entry in the entry quest in Hellfire, so that you can unlock the quest in Nagran, right? But there's some quests where you have to unlock certain quest zones and hubs in other zones, right? So I think doing stuff like that is still going to be a good idea.
You have to.
Either way,
at least.
I would recommend forming a 5-man group and go all for one for all. Like, even if somebody shits the bed and they forget to wake up in time or something like that, don't level without them. Wait for them. Just take some time off. You'll have to take that time. You'll have to get that sleep in eventually, right? It happened during Classic. We saw it, right? People were tight. One guy fell asleep. They left him behind. He woke up. He was salty. Groups can fall apart. People were getting mad at each other. Form a 5-man team. Have a bunch of options. Have A, B, C, and D, right? And then just hold each other accountable. Wake up. Pump. And one thing, you don't have to go through that stress of your plan falling apart and having to adapt. You have a very clear and simple plan. You as soon as you zone in, you hop right in here. You stay there together. You're keeping each other motivated. You put each other on follow if you have to go, do hygiene, whatever it is. And then, even if you do cross the finish line later, right? Let's say there's a Joker D or somebody who gets to 70. That person's hitting 70. What are they going to do with their time that's so great once they hit 70, man? Like, they can go to Elemental Plateau and get some gold. People already have 9 million gold anyway, right? Like, you need a play group to get stuff done. And if, like, he's just going to be a free agent at 70, sure, he hit there like a day or two before you. When you hit 70, you're going to be strong, man. You're going to be very strong. If you have the whole squad, the camaraderie, start a Discord chat right now, get people in there, start putting in the tips and tricks, start picking out the plan, like, so you can get a nice team, good composition, so the loot is distributed in good ways, and that's going to carry you through the whole server, honestly. If you have 4 people that you trust and you have all the roles covered.
It was mentioned earlier, but I think like it's important to be able to adapt as well, right? Like if you want to stick with the dungeon cleaving mentality, I think it's like, you shouldn't like you should try and stick with it. If someone's a little late, then exactly like you said, just go for a walk. Go take a cold shower, wake up a bit. Go do your taxes. Go do something else. Keep that group going if that's what you're determined to do. But if you're like you're kind of open to do whatever, I think it's like important to be able to adapt. Because we don't know exactly what it's going to be like, the sharding, the layering. You could plan out a whole leveling route, and if that's the only thing you have planned out, and then it turns out you can't level at all, then you don't have any other plan, right? I think especially if you have multiple plans and you're able to adapt on the fly. Like,
turns out something's busted in a dungeon, right? You're literally spamming in guild chat or world chat, like looking for a group. Let's go try to do this strat. Whereas if you have all the comms on point, everything is airtight already. You can just hit the ground sprinting no matter what happens. However,
it's also like what Tactics was saying. Is like there's certain items and quests that are very good, that are worth doing. Just like pre-plan. Look at some stuff that you want to do. You should have a list of like quests you want to do, quest chains you want to do. You don't have to do them while leveling if the area is overpopulated, but if the current thing you're doing is bad, go check that out. If that's bad, go to the next thing, go down. You can do those at 70, or you can do them while leveling. Just like have options available at the very least. Like, don't just do one thing only and stick with that.
For sure. I also want to say, if you're not since you're probably not going to be fresh, like 90% of players are going to play, or maybe even everyone. Most of us are playing on PvP servers. It's not going to be the same as in Classic, where you can get ahead and people want to get 60. There will be people that don't care about getting 70 fast, and they will just go around in Hellfire killing everyone, just for the fun, because they want to do some PvP, open world PvP or something, or maybe they just find it fun to gank or whatever. So you might get into an unlucky situation where you keep dying, or you might be an alliance on a mainly PvP server. So for those, it's even more important to get a dungeon group going.
You can always split up, right?
You not even be able to play.
You can always split up if the dungeon group isn't working. If it ends up being not great, you can always split up and still keep in touch, right? You can't do the opposite though if you're just a free agent.
Yeah, you can always split up, go do your little quest that you have planned out on the side, and meet back up in 30 minutes, an hour, something like that.
Yep.
Anybody else gonna quest or what? Am I the only one gonna be out there fucking questing with my partner?
Yeah, you say that now, bro. When you're camped by Undead Rogue 76 for the 20th time.
Baby, what's up?
We'll see.
I want a fresh Crix.
And here's the thing. Here's what I want to know.
Yeah.
If I've leveled a million times in TBC right now. I'm telling you, me and my partner, whoever, if me and Kargoz or me and Bide or set out, me and Tactics were set out to quest, I'm dumpster firing kids. I'm gonna get ahead of the pack because I know my thing. I'm not sleeping for 50 hours straight. I'm gonna get ahead. I'm gonna get ahead. When I get to the grind and Ring of Blood, yeah, it's gonna be me, my partner, and whoever else is out there fighting for that Ring of Blood. But it's not gonna be 200 people.
Then you get the 70. You don't have the other 3 to complete the play group, so you're doing heroic dungeons.
No,
like 60
we're gonna get 70. We're gonna be.
There's gonna be people up there in Ring of Blood as well. I'm not gonna be the only one up there. I'm just saying it's not. It's gonna be 20, 30 people waiting for Ring of Blood versus 200,000 million 0.5 divided by 2 times 7. You know what I mean? I'm zooming. Yeah, Blorby knows. He's a Blorby, right? Blorby in chat. He's a paladin. He's a speed leveler as well. He's a TBC speed leveler.
This guy says Crix doesn't want the 1v1s. He can't handle it.
Bro, you guys know. If you watch me, you know I'm ready for the 1v1s. You can't handle the 1v1s.
I honestly, I want you to succeed, Crix, but you're gonna blow up. You're gonna blow up while you're streaming, Crix, and you're gonna be on a PvP server. Leveling, man. Godspeed, my brother. Like I wanna. I'm waiting for the clips, bro.
Didn't we decide on a PvE server?
What's up?
Didn't we decide on the PvE server?
PvE, yeah, I'm down 100%. No, like that's.
Oh, hey, then what are you worried about?
True. No. I thought.
You gotta fight mobs. You still gotta fight. The thing, even if you pull ahead, you can pull ahead as fast as you want. You still have that initial day of not being ahead of anybody and just hoping that you can hit this mob before anybody else does. Especially because it's a lot of collection quests. You know what I mean? Even if you skip Hellfire, which is the play, and then go to Sangermarsh, even if you know the perfect route like we do, you're still other people are gonna know the perfect route. They might not know it at this minute, but they have the next 6 months or whatever it is to practice that route on. Any of these private servers or betas or whatever else the pre-patch. I don't know what the pre-patch, but everything else.
Okay, so I would say if we don't go on PvE server, you guys are gonna get ganked. Like,
oh yeah,
I already know two of your friends that said specifically they invited me to a group chat asking if I wanted to make a human alliance to gank Crix and Kargoz. They legit said that.
Oh, I know.
Okay,
what the hell? The reason why we said PvE server, trust me, I know.
Okay. Yeah. This was Kiro and Tommy.
Oh, you bitches.
Bastards. They don't want it though, bro. I'm feeling good on my Warlock, bro. You
go ahead, Tommy and Kiro, we'll get your raid spot.
We should make 3 alliance rogues and we just gank them just for fun once in a while. It'll be really good stream content.
Oh,
except for I hate to break it to you. Hey, I hate to break it to you. Kargoz and I are warlocks, and you guys probably couldn't take us.
Oh,
just saying.
Nah. You're just gonna get sapped and blind. You won't even attack, and then the other guy has 3 rogues on him.
Yeah, they are.
Be able to do anything.
You know what a PvP? They don't.
They are rogues, though.
Hey, the invitation is here. Come get.
Yo, here's the thing.
You're gonna get 3 blinds on you.
Here's another thing, guys. So know what items are useful for what. What am I talking about, right? Coil fang armaments, unidentified plant parts. There's probably a whole bunch more. Think right now. We can brainstorm stuff in the open world. How many times did you vendor coil fang armaments or like unidentified plant parts, and you're just like, oh, I shouldn't have vended that fat stack or like whatever. Like know what you need and like what it's useful for, so you can hang on to them. The beads in the Grand from the ogres. There's probably a ton of stuff, right? What else? What else can we think of that is useful for turns?
Unidentified plant parts is another really good one because that's a repeatable one, but really only the first one does. You can also repeat that quest in Hellfire that lets you rebomb stuff, but it's like you're not going to get the same experience. The first time you do it, yes, but then you're not going to. But that same bead quest you're talking about is up there with a whole bunch of quests, and a lot of times if you do the proper route, you're not going to have that quest for the beads. So you just get a bunch of these beads, you're like, what the fuck are these for? I'm going to throw these away. But then you actually have to go back there because you get the quest, and that's kind of a shitty farm to get those because they don't drop there.
Yeah, there's 2 different quests, right? So you need 20, and those are quests that actually give experience. It's not just a rep thing only. So, but the plant parts are actually a big thing. People always forget about those, but yeah, I would be looking to buy those in like general chat on the zone, Zangarmarsh, if you can. Those are you can repeatedly turn those in. I think until honored, like when you're whatever 2,999 out of 3,000 for honored, you can turn them into up to then. And when you turn them in, you have a chance to get another item that you could. It's a repeatable quest as well that you can turn that in for rep as well. So it's a really free rep.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's really nice if you can get those turn-ins like almost as soon as possible before you do a bunch of quests in Zangarmarsh. It's just like a free boost. Like it's not as big of a thing at the start of the server, but later on in the server, it's very nice.
Cenarion is probably the most important rep. Out of those early ones as well, right? Because everybody needs shoulder. Is it shoulder or head enchant from? And there's like sick weapons and gear and stuff from. But mainly, at least
Zangarmarsh is the heroics. Like the 3 heroics are like the most common heroics for any heroics. Slave Pins is the easiest heroic out of everything.
Slave Pins and Underbog are the easiest. those are like those are the ones you can buy, but they're also the first ones you go to. You're living in Steam Vaults, that's the Rear Kara attunement, right? You're living in SP because that's the best heroic, it's the quickest heroic, Crag's Eye, etc., etc. Then you have Underbog, you can skip half that shit too. So it's like those are the easiest heroics that you can
Somebody
do.
said Sanguine Hibiscus. What is that? That sounds familiar. I just am blanking right now.
That's for the Sporagar stuff. That's not related.
Okay.
I mean, you can get it. There's a shield technically.
Yeah.
Those marks of Kill Jaden too. Fell armaments. Once you're out in Shadow Moon, does it start dropping? Once you get out there too. It looks like the Shadow Word Death sign. You know the.
Yeah, there's two different versions of them. There's a lower level version, which is the mark of Kill Jaden, and then there's a higher level version, which is like Marcus Sargeras. And there's the same thing for the Scryer's faction. There's like a Firewing Signet, and then I forget the other one called
Sunfury Signet and
Sunfury Signet. Yeah.
So
there's different versions. One of them's basically it's just to level like they drop off of Blood Elves for the Sunfury Signets, and they drop off of Demons for the Mark of Kill Jaden. And it just depends on the level of the ones you get. You can turn in certain ones up until Honored, the other ones until Exalted. But yeah, I mean if you're farming Demons, you get those.
What about Netherweave Cloth turn-ins or any other things that like they should hang on to while leveling? Think of there's got to be more stuff here. Like, think about the zones, stuff that drops. Spirit shards, don't delete those. You need to turn those in. Well, those are only from dungeons, right? Or you get them from quests too. The spirit shards.
Spirit shards are only from
PvP and from dungeons.
Only from the Aconite quests, and you definitely 100%. That's one of the things if you're PvPing, or not even because the rings are previous for a lot of classes too. But especially if you're PvPing, you can stock and your dungeon cleaving, you're already living in them. And if you're horde, you're gonna have the towers no matter what. It's 5 towers that if your faction has all 5 towers, you then are able to get your faction is able to get like a buff increase, you get experience increase as well. And as long as you go into the Aconite dungeons, so Sethic Halls, Shadow Labs, etc., you get a spirit shard from the boss, each boss.
It's basically like the Plague Lands, Western Plague Land, like the towers, or Eastern Plague Lands. It's exactly like the towers there, but here it's like if you control all 5, they get locked in for a certain amount of hours, and then you get bonus experience, and you can start getting spirit shards from the dungeon bosses.
Yep, 6 hours. And then you spend the spirit shards on really, really good rings. There's 2 really good rings. There's your meta gem. If the other one's not in the game yet, there's a meta gem in there. There's also like some shitty res gear that you'll
there's vendors that sell like shitty gems though, but like as you're leveling up you might get some stuff with sockets, so like know where the vendors are at, which gems are good, like right? Aren't there just regular vendor gems you can just buy? Yeah. Throw those in there. Also people are saying primals or moats. Yeah, moats is
I mean, typically, I think the rule of thumb is just like if it's not gray, don't vendor it. If it's white, like that's how like the Warcraft marking thing works. Like if it's gray, it means it's junk. If it's white, it means it's a trade good. And then obviously green is uncommon, stuff like that. Typically, if it's white, it's useful. There's some items that are questionable. You might not use. They have very niche uses that people don't use, but for the most part, most of the items will be used at some point.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm glad you said the 2 Kargoz because I tell people in chat all that. There's a vendor with a gem vendor, and they sell really shitty gems. So as a caster, your best gem starting out is 9 spell power gem, right? Basic one. These are 5. And they're all lesser. There's one in Thrallmore, there's one in Honor Hold, and they're like 2 gold each. You just fucking buy 10 of them. So when you do get a piece of gem gear, you're not going to go way out of your way and leave a dungeon, I gotta go buy a gem that's going to cost 20 gold, 30 gold, 40 gold. You just go ahead and put this shitty ass gem that costs a gold in there. That's 5 spell power, 4 agility or whatever, whatever your stat is. It's a huge.
Absolutely, man. No, that's big.
Also,
Also,
since you're talking about this, maybe professions would be useful to talk about. Which profession will be important to have like 1 to 330 ready, so you easily can get your enchant, like finger enchant, and all this kind of stuff later on. I believe you have enchanting and jewel crafting and leatherworking might be the top 3 that you want to prepare yourself for.
I would say definitely tailoring.
I would say tailoring one if you're.
You want to put those cooldowns on cooldown ASAP as soon as you can.
And also remember, just because it's tailoring doesn't mean only mages and shit use it. If you're a healer, you're tailoring. All your healers are tailoring for White Man, Primal Mooncloth. Your Ellie Shamans, your Boomies are still getting tailoring for Spell Strike and stuff like that too. So and Spellfire. So. Well, I mean, the Shaman's not going to Spellfire, but the Boomy is. So even if you're not a clother, you're still going to need tailoring for some of those classes. That's the number one thing you can do for your classes, as you guys probably already know, right? You can just stockpile your alts or whatever if you're to get those cooldowns going as soon as you can as well. Leatherworking, stock up on it. JC, you can stock up on that ahead of time too, like the mats at least that are in the game that you can do. That's smart if you're trying to prepare. Resto Druid as well. I don't know about Resto Druid. I don't know anything about Resto Druid, if I'm being honest with you. Previous wise, I've never touched anything about Druids.
Don't people also do it with enchanting for some reason? Isn't there something
you can DE items right faster, right?
Huge. Because a lot of the items you don't need, and if you don't need gold, you should 100% DE them.
But yeah, you can do the rings, but it also depends, like, if they try it. I don't know, that's back on, like, the original, one of the earlier things we were talking about, was, like, if they do release things, like, patch-wise, because not all the ring enchants are in the game right away, right? Mm-hmm. So maybe they're not in the game, I don't know. But the ring enchants aren't, like, that great. I mean, they're really good, obviously, but, typically you're not going to have your best in slot stuff. And a lot of the ring enchants are actually kind of expensive, so you typically don't want to put them on, like, some random shitty leveling ring that you're going to replace 2 more times before you get to the raid,
The food and cooking map, I'm not sure about cooking because I've never touched cooking in my life, but your food mats, you just get whatever food buffs you up. So whatever if you're a warlock, whatever your spell power, or whatever your, I don't know, I've only played caster, so I don't know what everybody else would use, but whatever your food buff is for your class, I would use that.
Yep. Let's see here, as well as, food and ammo and stuff, like, there's new ranks of all that stuff, you still need to use ammo as a hunter, and the vendors for ammunition are kind of, like, weirdly not everywhere. Like, you have to kind of know where they're at, so you know where all that stuff is. There are the bullets. Also, for hunters, little hunter specific tip, the ammo that you need is locked behind Cenarian. Like, I think you need Revered to use the bullets from there if you're going to go the gun route. So
engineering, well,
I think there's arrows as
Adamantine Stinger.
Oh yeah, there's arrows as well. Okay.
Adamantine Stinger is your arrow or bullet, right? And that's engineering, but they're also BOE. So there's something you can kind of stock up on. But also, if you're
those are expensive though, man. If you can really, I don't know, it's almost unsustainable to just use those, right? And there's not even that many on the auction house. Maybe there's on Fresh.
Yep. You can think of, if you want to be engineering, you can think about that as a hunter, because you don't need tailoring, right? You need leatherworking as your both professions as a hunter, really, if you think about it. So you have a free presence slot, and you can do it also as a hunter, because like Kargoz said, it's hard to find the spots. Like, you have to know where the arrows are. Mm-hmm. Buy metric fuck ton of them and just mail them to somebody and have them resend it back to you as free. You don't got to spend the gold on it, and then whenever you need arrows, go to the whatever nearest mailbox, pull out 1,000 more of them, and keep going. So you do never need to get arrows.
Yep, that's a good point. There's also certain world buffs, like in Zangarmarsh, you talk to those ancients, they'll give you world buffs. In Zangarmarsh, also, if you kill a spore bat, I think it's any spore bat in Zangarmarsh, you get this like kind of sick buff as well. I forgot exactly what it does, but once you get it, you'll be like, wow, it's kind of nice. Try to keep that on you if you're in the zone. There's little like nuances to all the zones to, like that one we talked about with the Spirit Shard zone, you get that buff, things like that.
Ooh,
there's kind of a theme in every zone, right? Like there's PvP towers as well in Hellfire, and it kind of gives you the same sort of buff as the other. You get some experience and damage.
Can you kill the Fell Reaver right away when you enter Outlands if you just grab a bunch of people and zerg him? Yeah, you could. That would be so fun to do if you think about it. Like, you just enter Outlands with a rate of 60s trying to kill a... That'd be kind of fun. But,
yeah, that does sound...
I bet people do that. Like, there's elite demons right below the steps of the Dark Hole as well, right? I bet people just go down there and shoot mob and stuff.
Be super fun.
So, okay, another thing that would actually be just genuinely useful for people, let's just set up a basic, it doesn't have to be super optimized, spell cleave and a melee cleave for people, like if you had to. It doesn't have to be perfect, right? But something people might be wondering, does TBC change things? Abide, I think you probably have the best mind for this. What comes to mind for you if you had to set up a spell cleave or a melee cleave to run through dungeons with?
I mean, if I'm having a melee cleave, I'd probably want to get an enhanced shaman at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not. It doesn't have to be enhanced. Just a shaman of some kind. Just like if you Wind Fury at some point, you'll get Wind Fury Totem, and that's just a major buff to the physical DPS. Mm-hmm. Probably want like a Feral Druid or a Prot Paladin. Just it's super easy AoE threat. You don't have to worry about cleaving early. After that, you can kind of fit whatever. Warrior's pretty good because it has no downtime, right? It has Fury, right? Warrior, maybe Hunter or something like that. It doesn't really. The healer's kind of whatever. It could be the Shaman. It could not be, and you can just put another DPS in there. But some sort of beneficial physical damage that maybe gets buffed by the crit from the Feral Druid, or it gets buffed by the Wind Fury Totem. You kind of want to take advantage of that. I'd say probably like Warrior, Hunter, Enhanced Shaman, probably a Paladin, like a Prot Paladin or a Holy Paladin rather, or a Ret Paladin, something like that.
That's what I was going to say.
Just for some buffs, like kind of buff your party up.
It's funny on the hard side. Even on spell cleave, I think it's still Pally Shaman, right? But for different ways, for different reasons, right? Sorry, Crick spell cleave.
Yeah.
What do you think, spell cleave?
Pally Shaman, double Warlock mate. Well, it depends. If you're rep grinding, like you do, there's like when you do your rep, there's dungeons where you're just like it's not AoE. There you go. Just take a mage, take a warlock, take whatever you want. Shadow Priest, warlock. Ellie Shamans are really good in dungeons as well because it's not the big old AoE ones, but if you're just running Sethic Halls and shit like that. All the other ones besides the big AoE rep farms, Ellie Shaman, Warlock Mage are fucking beautiful. Prop Paladin Shaman is always my go-to because they have Wrath of Air Totem, which is 101 spell power. They have the Ellie's. If you bring that Ellie, you're bringing him, his totems as well. If it is one of those ones where AoE grinding them down, Shattered Halls, Shadow Labs, all that stuff, you're gonna want 2 Warlocks, a Mage.
Did you mean for 70 or for leveling on this?
Oh yeah, were you talking leveling?
Yeah, we're talking either or. I mean, just
Yeah,
leveling.
Because Warlocks don't see it until level cap, right?
Okay, yeah. I would still take a Warlock though.
Here's the thing: what's probably more important than group comp too. Like, it does matter, but it's player over comp when it comes to this type of long marathon.
Yeah, you definitely want someone that can be there on the clock, like you're saying, be there as part of the group, and hey, we're waking up at 6 hours, and it's somebody reliable, that will, not Bobby, who's always 12 hours sleeping,
Yep. So player over class there, and then the other thing that's still probably more important is the loot distribution. So see what the previous sets look like. Hunters need Beast Lord, right? So they're kind of in their own element. They're just stacking up their Beast Lord set. They're kind of chilling. They don't really need much else other than that. Then maybe you go look at what the Warlocks need, and they need this, and you just trace your whole dungeon progression up, and hopefully everybody gets everything they need. So once you're hitting 70, you're pretty much ready to just walk right into Karazhan, right?
Yeah, I think that's actually a little bit more important. I think the most important for leveling is the player over the class, because you do want people that are consistently showing up and stuff, right? But I think more importantly, when you get to the higher levels and you're trying to plan out, I think it's if you had the option, let's say you had 20 people who are guaranteed to be there, and you have to make a 5-man group. I think the best thing would be to look at what particular dungeons you need later on. We need to run steam vaults for this guy for his hunter gear, but this guy is a druid tank. He also needs steam vaults. The healer also needs steam vaults for this, this ring, right, or this offhand. This other guy needs it for whatever type of thing, right? So all of a sudden we have 4 people who really need Cenarion reppers, items.
That's
for
actually
vaults, right?
sick, Obad.
So you make a group like that, and you kind of plan your gear around that.
Instead of spell cleave, it's steam vaults cleave. You know what I'm saying?
I think it's just based on whatever the rep needs of certain classes and specs are, and the gear.
Think about the power spike you get, Abide. If you focus on steam vaults and you have everybody benefits massively from one of the high tier rep items from it. Don't you get a mount first of all if you're exalted, but also the druids get that Earth Warden mace, right? Like you said, everybody's getting. That might be the big brain way to do it. You pick the end game dungeon that unlocks the most power level for your squad, and you build a group around that, dude.
Well, at the same time, steam vault is the best rep you can get in Cenarion as well. If you're farming a dungeon, you do farm steam vaults.
One thing as well I said earlier is the normal dungeons don't give you rep past 100. That's only true for the low level normal dungeons, Ramparts, Slave Pens, Underbox, the ones that are 62, 63, stuff like that. The ones that are level 70, like steam vaults, Botanica, Mechanar, stuff like that, those give you rep until exalted.
I mean, another one that would be an alternative, right? Would be if your Thrallmar and Honorhold have both a gun and a bow that are actually insane. They're very, very powerful. I think, right? It's not a tanking gun, is it? I think hunters actually would use it. It's maybe not. I think it's better than a Don Santos even. I don't know. I'd have to go look at it, but it's a serviceable epic gun from both Thrallmar and Honor. I think it's Thrallmar has a bow and Honorhold has a gun or something, right? But I'm saying. Maybe you could do a hunter cleave or something where everybody gets something really juicy from Honorhold at the very end, and maybe you find a healer that's still, or a tank, tanks. Okay, so you're an orc, right? Orc gets their best tanking weapon, the one-handed axe, from Thrallmar. So you would have a prot warrior tank, a bunch of hunters who are going for their guns or bows, and then maybe try to find a healer that would also get something nice, and then. I don't know if does that make sense about it?
I think that's a good way to look at it. And I think it's another option of how you can plan it out, right? It's not just let's take the most damage comp possible. You can also plan it out. It's just like the leveling thing. You don't have to just do the thing that's going to make you level the fastest, right? You can also do things that make you
efficient,
level efficiently, right? Where when you hit level 70, you've already done 4 or 5 things that other people that leveled all the way as fast as possible haven't done yet, right?
Yep.
Maybe if you're leveling slower in dungeons, you've already done Karazhan attunement by the time you're level 70 or something like that,
Which is big because the quicker that you can get the tactics, and he's trying to be the first one of the first ones to do it. It's a little bit different, but if you're not trying to bleeding edge top 5 do it, do exactly what they're saying, because the faster you do that, even if it's still slower level, now you're at 70. Yeah, I might have beat you. Tactics might have beat you to 70 by a day or whatever, But now he's supposed to do all his attunements.
And he has to do it with a bunch of randoms. He has to do
go.
heroics with a bunch of random people that like you never, or just dungeons in general with a bunch of randoms, right? Abide, think about it from your perspective as raid leader, GM, or something like that. If one whole suite of hunters all get the epic gun at the same time, or the epic bow weapon, that's a massive power spike like to the overall, to the guild, right? Or if like a bunch of people, like all your big pumpers, complete and get exalted Cenarian reps super early in the server, and they all get like massive weapons or something, right? It'd be. I would imagine.
Yeah, but your first thing you're doing for most of these classes is your weapon, which is Thrallmar rep or honor. So veterans, musket, or marksman bow is what your ones you're talking about. The honored hold and the Thrallmar ones. As a hunter, that's the first thing you're trying to do anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to do that right away.
But building a cleave where everybody benefits from that rep equally.
Yeah, I mean that's the way to do it for sure.
Yeah,
like at least like you can do that with most groups as well. You just have to plan out like which dungeons you're running. Like maybe you skip like. Okay, maybe only 3 of us or 2 of us benefit from like Hellfire dungeons. Well, let's skip that and we can do Underbog and Sight Pens for 3 levels, and then we'll go straight to set the calls or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yo, Grace.
I think.
Good to see you. Sorry.
I think that's also another thing we will need to wait to see. Of course, it's really important to ensure that you figure out the routing for gear. So especially for a hunter, that they get the best range weapon in the dungeon. It actually drops before they move on, or something like that. But what you really need to pay attention to is the beta and which dungeons is going to be like. You might have some dungeons that tries as fast to spell cleave or 50% faster to spell cleave than others, just because they find some mechanics. So keep track of if we get 60 to 70 in the beta, which dungeons are really good at AoEing down in groups. This is something we found out in the beta with SM as an example, that they found out, SM 30 to 40 was super good. Everyone was ready for that. Mm-hmm. But no one was ready. We didn't have the beta for mages, so no one knew you could solo Sulfurak, as an example. If people knew that, mages would have been way faster.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we might find out something, just keep track of the beta and whatever will happen. So
exactly.
Keep track.
There's a whole new like philosophy or like way of looking at dungeons now as a result of classic, right? Evade spots are now like prominent and found in every like crack and crevice of the game, right? And also, like I saw Tommy the other day taking the slowest class in the game to level in a lot of people's mind, the Paladin, and he's soloing ZF farm with the Paladin, manipulating the pathing and using Consecrate. I don't know if you saw him doing it, Tactics. It was pretty insane. Like,
yeah, I know.
I don't see any reason why that stuff wouldn't work in TBC. Maybe it wouldn't. I don't know. Maybe they changed something about it, but that's what this is the type of stuff. Like, keep your eyes and ears open. Something nutty like that will manifest, and having the squad.
As much as I like to act like we know what we're talking about, I 1,000,000% sure there's gonna be some just big brain dude who figures some massive shit out, just like Classic, and I can't wait to see it. That's why I tell people all the time. Even with comps, strats, routes, raid stuff, people are gonna find other ways to do something, and I'm excited to see that because the private server is kind of set in stone. Like, there's this way to do it, and then every other way is wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, you're right.
I fucking love it, man. I'm excited. I'm so excited for this.
Yeah, man.
Like, we got an announcement. Hopefully we get into a beta soon. We got a couple private server launches coming up for anybody that wants to prepare. One of them, by the way, I'm just going to chime in. It's a 58 boost, and you can do a 60 boost with face sticks in-game gear on, so you can see how you can literally take your, like if it's me, Tactics Abide, Kargoz and Grace for days can boost our character 60, get in-game gear or whatever one we want, and then go do these dungeons and test them out and see how fast it is, what's the experience, what's blah, 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 blah.
Yep. And we are starting
I'm
a guild,
surprised about something.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I don't know if you guys know about this, like, but I'm surprised no one has started to data mine, because you can already download the client, the people that have friends and family accounts. Like, I have a friend, 7 Leaves here, he's already in the beta. Oh, not, like, he's in it, he can see the client, he's downloaded it, he can't click play. But last time with Classic, the second it came up, everyone wanted to data mine. What do they plan on? But no one has done this yet, and it's been up for like 24 hours. That's just a surprise to me.
I'm sure they're on it right now.
This hasn't happened.
Yeah, I'm sure they're working on it. There's definitely got people who be working on it. That's crazy though, man. Did you guys hear that? The beta the client is installed. Oh my Lanta, dude.
What did you say?
Insane.
At least there's some files, because I saw a screenshot of it. On that it doesn't say it's TBC beta, it says uncategorized beta or something similar to that. So it doesn't actually say the name, but it is TBC beta.
Yep. But we are starting a guild, though, by the way, guys. PvE server, and if you want to get involved, we could drop the Discord link too, right, Greg? So if people want to, I don't know if you want to do applications. It's or I don't know. Maybe it's open to people. I'm not exactly sure the plan, but I'm down to saddle up once again.
So there's a new fish coming out on the 28th. It's a private server. It's a fast-paced private server as well, with ×8 leveling speed, so you don't have to worry about. You can control the speed too if you want ×1. You can do that. You can control it, but it's ×8. Fast-paced server. We're all in the guild. We're all doing it, and we just want to do it. It's to help anybody do your routes. Let's do your rep grinds, for a safe place for anybody to ask stupid questions and not get flamed for it. Let's show you guys T4. Let's show you guys T5. Let's show you guys T6, etc., etc. It'll be fun.
Is it a PvE server?
It's PvP server.
I didn't know.
No,
it
it's
is
PvP server. Yeah.
Oh, it is PvP. Okay.
It is PvP.
I thought I heard PvE.
That's the Discord, and you don't have to raid. If you want to raid, go to the announcements and sign up and put your thing there. It doesn't guarantee a spot though, obviously. And you can just do it if you just want to quest, if you just want to hang out, if you want to do whatever. Ask questions.
I like what you're saying, Greg. So saying it's a good place where you're not going to get flamed asking stupid questions. That's actually pretty cool. You never hear that in the WoW communities, man.
Yeah, and you guys know that private servers are fucking toxic. They can be. Abide, you fucking know this, right? We're toxic sometimes, but when I joined PvC servers like 14, 15 months ago, I didn't know anything, and I bugged Abide. I bugged so many different people about it, and they were nice, thankfully. But you can't go to global chat and ask a stupid question without getting just tiltedly flamed. So that's what the guild's for, man. Ask as many questions as you guys want. It's gonna be fun, fast paced. You don't got to raid. You can, and even if you're not on the raid team, guess what? I'll fucking sit myself and let you go in there. We'll help walk you through your classes. It's not just me, just people smarter than me. Abide, identical people were leading it. It's raid leading it. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I think it's gonna be a good chance for you to see the raids and a quick pace. The big thing is it's fast paced. Black Pimple's out after 2 months of launch, so you get to literally see all the raids.
Yep, I just linked it in the Discord if you guys want. We'll see what happens with it and stuff. But ultimately, we're talking all this. I'm excited for TBC, and the main thing that excites me about TBC, it's not the PvP, it's not the PvE, it's not the leveling. It's honestly just the ability to hang out with good friends, right, and have some good times, right? Like do some dungeons, and it's the people, man. It's the people, and it's been a pleasure.
I feel like I didn't really get to have that people thing with Classic, Yeah. Classic kind of disappointed a lot of people, and this is our chance, man.
Yeah, man. I'm excited. Another adventure, man. Saddling back up again. We'll give it a shot.
One more thing, then I'll shut up. I'm gonna link it to. We have Kargoz as part of it as well. About a week ago, we started the TBC Classic Discord, the actual Discord server, like a resource center for TBC Classic. It's at 5K members right now. It just blew up over the weekend because of BlizzCon. That's the Discord server. You'll find any resource for any profession, any class, any fucking dungeon cleaves. You can looking for groups. We have guild recruitment channels, separated alliance, professions, horde, etc., etc., etc.
It's shaping up to be the Discord. It looks like it. It's
It's on Wowhead. We got it on subreddits. We got it on Icy Veins. We got it everywhere. It's going to be the main. It is the main TBC Classic Discord.
Very nice. Very nice. Also, let's shout out Tactics. Let's start wrapping up. We already did the 2 hours, man. You guys have any parting words for the community?
I love you guys. Fucking love you guys.
Yeah.
I'm excited for you guys to see this shit. You guys, I'm always hyped. I talk loud, cut people off. It's because I'm fucking hyped. You guys will see why I'm hyped. Some of you already know. Blorby, I see you in here. I love you. You guys for my chat. You guys know how hyped I am. You guys know how amazing. This is an amazing game, guys. And I know we're not going to get everything we want from Blizzard, but it's still going to be a fucking amazing game. You're going to have a blast. You're going to have an absolute blast. Yeah, leveling might suck, but after that, you're going to have an absolute blast.
Hell yeah, wise words. Abide, do you have a Twitch or anything you want to plug in, man? I know you've been maybe inching your way towards more making content.
Yeah, you can put mine. I'm not streaming right now, but maybe soon, especially with this Fresh coming out.
Yeah.
He'll be streaming, don't worry. I'm getting into he will. I'm forcing his hand.
You're in the presence of a legend, boys. Abide is quite known on these TBC servers and stuff, so he's going to be in
for better or for worse.
For sure.
True, bro.
What's the Twitch, though? Do you have a... Let me see. Okay, got it.
I like the two.
Yeah.
So fucking nice, for better or for worse.
Absolutely. Yo, Seekers, good to see you, man. You coming back to TBC, man? You coming back to WoW? Good to see you, man. All right, folks, we're wrapping up, though. We'll see you next time on the next episode of the Dark Portal. I think it was a pretty good one. Signing off. Take care, and we'll talk to you real soon. Peace out. Let's see. We're going to host. Let's go and host. Stay safe. Talk to you later, guys. Peace.